What's going on, Jets fans? Episode 52, the David Harris episode. And we're going to say it's Draftmas Eve. So, Merry Draftmas Eve to all of us. If you don't know the sound, then you do not know the NFL draft. That is one of the most beautiful things ever. You're about to turn your card in. That's what that sound means. James, how are you feeling tonight? I want to hear everything, what's on your mind. And we have a lot of mailbags tonight, guys. So we're going to get to all of those, all of your comments. James, what's going on, man?
I'm doing good. I mean, my brain is in a pretzel, though. I'll tell you. I don't know what to think. I don't know where the Jets are going to go. I don't know where the Jaguars are going to go. I don't know where anyone is going anywhere. And we're 24 hours away, and I've just like exhausted every option that we possibly have, and I just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. And you alluded to it as we were kind of in like the green room or whatever you want to call it. And I'm seeing it in the comments right now. So let's start with this because this would be some wild shit, right? I'm trying to find the comments. Sorry, I'm stalling right now.
Yeah.
Where does it go? Oh, here we go. From Jared Helmuth. And you had mentioned this prior to rumors that Aiden Hutchinson, who we spent how much time could we have possibly spent talking about Aiden Hutchinson during this offseason? Like literally,
2 minutes.
yeah, it was like we didn't even really talk about him.
Mhm.
The rumor right now, and if you're just tuning in, welcome. We are doing our jersey giveaway tonight, guys. So I'm not sure when I'm going to do that. I'm going to kind of vibe off of what the chat's saying. You know, I don't want to do it right now. I don't want to start the show off with a bang like that. I want to have like a little bit of a crescendo, if you will. But anyway, the rumor right now is that Aiden Hutchinson could be there at number 4. Thibodeau to the Lions is the speculation right now. And then Walker, number 1 overall. Who was going in number 3 in this scenario? You said Stingley, right?
Yeah. So the tweet circulating was from Woodward Sports Network. They have a draft expert, Bishop Scott or Scott Bishop. And so based on his video, it's about a minute and 30 seconds long, but his sources, now everyone I guess has obviously different sources and things of that nature. But from what he put out there was that the Jaguars would go edge and they would go Walker. The Lions, what he believes their board is, or what he's hearing their board is they want to go edge as well, but their edge board looks like Walker and then Kayvon Thibodeau. So if Walker goes 1, Thibodeau goes 2, and then the Texans would go with Derek Stingley at number 3, which would then leave us number 4 with Aiden Hutchinson. And I dream scenario for the Jets. It's just I don't know what to ultimately believe, but if that's the case, we may not remember the pick 10. I'm taking out the Jack Daniels bottle after pick 4, and then just letting Joe Douglas do whatever he does after that.
Man, it's like I don't even know what to say. I don't know what to say about Aiden Hutchinson. I didn't really, if I'm being honest, I didn't really spend enough time considering him. So, I mean, yeah, I'd be excited. He was always the guy that I had said. And I think when we did our rankings for edge, I think I actually had him as number 1 over Thibodeau. So it just goes to show you how wild and unpredictable the draft is. And I constantly read comments, and it's not really a criticism of you guys, but I do get the comment every once in a while, like, that guy's not going to be there. That guy's going to go way earlier. He's going to go way later. Like, we just do not know. And this draft class is truly unique. It really does feel that way. Like, it is going to be so unpredictable. Round 1 could be one of the most memorable round 1s that we've all seen in a very, very long time. Astral is off the chain. Dude, if you have not called out of work on Friday, I'm going to go ahead and say poo-poo on you. Go ahead and call out. What are you waiting for? Dude, it's draft weekend. You got to get off work. I'm off work. I'm Fridays off, and I'm actually kicking myself I didn't take a half day tomorrow. I would have liked to have had a half day off, kind of just relax, maybe watch a little bit of pre-draft, coverage, but I'll be working until about 4 o'clock tomorrow. So, all right, let's see here. We got Duncan McLean. He says, I think Gardner, but I may change my mind in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
If Hutchinson's there, I say no way. There's no possibility. And I think you would agree with that, James. You've been really pounding the table for Gardner, but there's no way you're
Yeah.
passing on Aiden Hutchinson if he's available. It's just my
No.
personal opinion. I'm pretty sure you agree.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I agree there. Kayvon too. Kayvon, or
Yes.
I mean, dream scenario for me is Kayvon at 4, and then Jamison Williams at 10. Just because I think the board falls in a way that if you go corner at 4, you may not have an edge option at 10, and then you wind up with corner and then wide receiver, and then it's all right. How do you fill that edge spot? And I mean, it depends on their board, but it seems like edge wide receiver would give them a lot more flexibility in the second round.
Okay, there you go. All of that makes sense, by the way, and
Yeah,
I totally agree with you. Like, even with the reporting from Connor Hughes today that the Jets are just simply not taking. Sorry, now I've got all of these other defensive ends on my brain. Um, the Connor Hughes report is that the Jets are not going to take Thibodeau at 4 or 10, regardless of what's going on. You can totally believe that that's a smokescreen, and it's definitely your prerogative to look at it that way. I say it's somewhere in the middle. I don't want to completely crap all over Connor Hughes because he does have some instances where he really does like break stuff and he does, pull it out. It's not like Tony Pauline, who really is just kind of like, it feels like he's just shooting in the dark half the time. So I give Connor Hughes a little bit of the tip of the cap because I feel like he does at times know what he's talking about. It's very well that he could be just guessing, but there seems to be a lot of people that really, really like Jermaine Johnson at 4, and that was the name that people keep talking about right now is Jermaine Johnson. Damian Woody has talked an awful lot about him. He's his favorite edge in this class, as far as I understand. Leger Douzable of SNY, he talks a lot about Jermaine Johnson. So, and I think your boy Andrew Golden, who I'm trying to work on getting him this summer on the channel with you, he's also a big Jermaine Johnson guy as well. Jerome Strax, you are the man. I have to say, it has been like 2 weeks of my man giving me the countdown, and every time I see it, I'm like, yes, this dude is on point. Joe Douglas did say he's got major trade news tomorrow, so stay tuned. Let's go with a percentage chance, James. Let's just get a little speculative here. Forget about the top 4 because who cares about that, right? Um,
yeah.
what percentage chance do you give the Jets of making this Deebo Samuel trade? Not necessarily before the draft, but just at any point during this weekend.
I think it's a lot. I think it's higher before 8 o'clock tomorrow than it is after 8 o'clock tomorrow. Um, Before 8 o'clock tomorrow, I'd probably put it at 40%, and then if it's after 8 o'clock tomorrow, I'd probably drop it down to about 30. Because the way I look at it, right? And now, and listen, the San Francisco 49ers fans, God bless them, and nothing. But some of the things that they're throwing out there, you potentially wouldn't even trade packages like that for a quarterback, let alone Deebo Samuel. And it's nothing against Deebo Samuel. I want him on the team, but I'm not giving 438, and
No.
then Elijah Moore. Like, I'm just not doing that. And then the one I saw today was they wanted 4, 10, 35, and 38 for Deebo Samuel. So, I don't know if it was a joke, but it didn't seem like a joke. But ultimately, like, if I'm putting myself in San Francisco's shoes, if you're trading for a first round pick, wouldn't you want to know where that pick is going to be in the first round? If you do that with the Jets tomorrow, you're guaranteed that first round pick is going to be number 10. If you wait and the Jets give you a 2023 first round pick, not saying the Jets are going to make the playoffs, but we've seen crazier things happen. What if that first round pick all of a sudden becomes number 19? It becomes number 21. Now you just lost out on the value of 11 picks. So I think it would be, the 49ers would be incentivized to say, if we're going to trade them, let's the best we're going to get is 10th overall. Let's take it before tomorrow. We move on, and everything happens there. So I think the percentage is a little bit higher before 8 o'clock tomorrow rather than after, just because they may ask for all of that in 2023 because they don't know what the value is actually going to be.
Yeah, I'm out with 10 and a second round pick. I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly don't even really want to do 10 and a second round pick in the future. And maybe the 49ers fans listen to this and they're like, you guys are like, they're saying basically the same thing we are. Like, you're what you're asking for, or you're getting too much for too little. And maybe that's the case, but for me, we have too many different areas of concern to be spending more than that 10th overall pick. And again, I'm just not interested in giving up either 35 or 38 in that trade. I'm even a little bit leery of giving them the Tyreek Hill package just because that wipes out our second and third round completely unless we trade back. So
Yeah,
I don't know. It's wild. And I think that, like, you're right. I think the closer we get to the draft, it's probably going to decrease in odds. A big time player trade like that during the draft, I can't recall the last time that's happened, really. I mean, it doesn't mean that it can't happen, but it's pretty rare stuff there. TA Rug with a funny, he says, not the Woodward Sports Network.
yeah. I saw that one before I was laughing.
Yeah, no, it's smokescreen season. No, we can take everything that we hear with a grain of salt. But hey, for the sake of for being fans, we can talk about anything, right? Because it's now we're just sitting here waiting. We're in our beds. We're tucked away. The cookies are out for Santa Claus. We're just kind of wondering what he's going to leave us under the Christmas tree at this point. All
Yep.
right. So Wild Wave says, yeah, no way Houston is going to pass on him at number 3. I tend to agree. I think that, Houston, I still see them as a landing spot for Equanu. I don't know why. And again, maybe that's just my bias because I don't really want us to go offensive line. I feel like they need an offensive lineman, but there's not been a whole lot of other people joining me in that conversation. Stephen Engel, he says, I'm going to riot if we do not take KT. There's a lot of comments. You guys are already filling it up. And just real quick, while I have a moment here, thinking about it, the new Wednesday time, and I said it at the end of the last stream, the new Wednesday time is going to be 7 to 9 moving forward. I wake up before the sun even gets up now. That's my new schedule. And so I just cannot do the 8 to 10 window. It's just not physically possible. Let's see. I quite literally want to crap all over Connor Hughes. There are many that will join you in that. And I know that he rubs, some fans the wrong way. And at times he's done that for me too. But I do think that overall he's trying to give a pretty good report. But
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
feel
No,
how feel how you want. What do you want to say, James, about
yeah.
Connor?
Yeah, no, I think. Listen, I mean, he's probably got some sources in the building. It just, I think we're all getting to that point where JD kind of runs a tight ship. So, maybe there is chatter, but I don't think it's. And I think a lot of it is we just still don't know because there have been a lot of instances since JD's been the GM that um, we had no idea there were certain things that were on the horizon whatsoever, and it just kind of bombshell drops, and no one on the beat had the in. So nothing against him, but I do think JD runs a quite a tight ship.
Yes, and I think that's why people want to be like, you're full of it, basically, because it is true to say that, like to say that he doesn't really let out a bunch of information. Jake Klein kind of agrees with us, one of the better beat writers. I'll also throw this in there, and most of the beat writers were saying it at the time, and I'm really not trying to like turn this into a pat the beat writers on the butt kind of episode, but we were all fuming over their reporting of Denzel Mims last,
Yeah.
building. We were very, very upset at them. We were saying it's BS. They're just clickbaiting us. They knew something. They saw something. They heard something. And again, that kind of woke me up to a little bit, of, okay, these guys are clearly closer to the players and to the people that are in the building than we are. So you gotta give respect where respect is due. Do they try to pull the rug out from under us every once in a while? I'm sure that's the case. But we're gonna move on. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go to the mailbag right now. And the first mailbag is right on the screen right now. And it's from Sports Take and it's from Twitter. And he says, when will the Jets trade for Debo? So you had talked about the odds going down. If this trade's going down, let's just go ahead and let's aim for a time. Let's answer his question. I'm going to go ahead and say that if it's not executed by about 4 o'clock in the evening, afternoon tomorrow, I'm going to say no deal's happening. What do you think's the time that this happens, if it happens?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 6 o'clock. I'm gonna go with 6 o'clock. If we don't hear anything by 6 o'clock, I'm pretty sure we're gonna be picking between 4 and 10, because then at that point, I don't know if John Lynch is pulling the trigger because he'll just feel like it's a I don't want to say like a last minute decision, but I do think it's later in the afternoon and potentially around 6 o'clock if we don't hear anything.
All right, there you go. So there's your answer. And guys, as I'm pulling up the next one, don't forget a weekly mailbag is dropped every single week. Twitter, Instagram, now on Facebook. We're on Facebook. If you didn't know, there's a Jets Today group. You can leave your mailbags in there and also on the YouTube community tab as well. All right, this is also from Twitter. That's where I do most of my work. PC, who is in the chat as well, he says, do we really want Debo over JMO? Which I love the rhyming there. That's pretty nice. As a teacher, that gets me all excited. It's a little Dr. Seussy too. James, do we really want Debo over JMO? Your turn. And
I'm
chat,
gonna
you
say
as
yeah.
well. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Chat, you
No,
as
no,
well.
that's
Respond to the question. Debo, JMO. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes because of the veteran nature. Nothing's a guarantee, but you're ultimately getting closer to that by acquiring Debo Samuel. He's a proven playmaker, and I do want to kind of say like it's not just the fact that he runs the ball really well, so we should trade for him because he can run and he's a good receiver. He's an excellent receiver, and it just so happened they used him at the running back spot later on last year. So we're still getting a number one receiver in my opinion. I know people are potentially scared away by whatever that contract number looks like, but scared money don't make no money. So at that point, I'm willing to go with Debo, and I don't want to call it a chance because I obviously I want Jameson Williams at 10 if we don't acquire Debo Samuel, but I do think we would be in better hands if we do go with the trade for Debo.
Yeah, and there's a split amongst the fans, guys. I hope you all understand that. Like, some people are like, it's a no-brainer. Why would we not go after Debo? I agree. Going after Debo makes a ton of sense, but it's unbelievable, and I really am still kind of shocked over how adamant some fans are against the idea. And I'm pretty sure PC fits in that conversation of people that just prefers to continue to do what we've been doing the last 2 years, which is just to continue to accumulate draft capital, selecting players via being, at the spot, trading up, or trading back to accumulate more draft capital. William Hutchinson, he says Debo is a proven top 10 wide receiver, and I appreciate the realistic number there. I don't know if he's necessarily top 5. I think that the top 10 definitely fair number to put him in that conversation. And I'm agreeing with you. Yes, I still prefer Debo over JMO, but when the clock strikes 8 o'clock tomorrow night and the trade's not executed, I'm going to have my eyes fully focused on the draft. And although the Jets wouldn't have technically done what I had said that they should do, at the very beginning of the offseason, get a veteran wide receiver, a bona fide guy, I still think they can accomplish what we want them to accomplish, which is to get a hell of a playmaker at the wide receiver spot. It's on Joe Douglas. He has to go get the right guy. That's what it comes down to. So it won't be like we're not excited for the draft. It won't be like we can't find a good player, but Debo over JMO is what I'm going to continue to say. This is a good one. VR Hildago, he says, gonna steal this. We don't talk about Debo. Oh, whoa, whoa. I like that. That's pretty good. Let's see. Matt Morris says, at a little above the right price, we definitely want Debo. Yes. If the price is fair and reasonable and we can give up 10 and maybe 69 at the very most, yeah, I'm all in. Jake says Debo would be the beast of the East. Some people were talking about what if he went with the Patriots. That would be a pretty much a nightmare. Because I could totally see him saying, "Yeah, I'll run the ball for you, Bill Belichick. Let's do all of the crazy things."
Yeah.
Zane Game, he says, "Let's do Mims for Debo." Not happening. Not happening.
Yeah.
D Jones, he says that Aiden Hutchinson is now the favorite to go to the Jets via Vegas odds. That's crazy. The odds are going to keep fluctuating. Just they're all over the place. They're never going to stop all the way up until draft time. They're going to be continuously fluctuating. All right. I don't see any more comments on Debo in the chat. I'm going to scan through it really quickly here. Okay, here's one more. This is a good one. Joe Lewis, thanks for leaving the comment. He says, Debo is an excellent weapon, not a true wide receiver one. He says, shaky hands and pretty pedestrian route running. Shanahan schemes him open a ton. If we can do the same, get him, but not a slam dunk like some think. It's a bit of a hot take. I think he's an okay route runner. I mean, I'm not like a film junkie. I'm not sitting there staring at Debo Samuel running routes all day long. But I think he's more than adequate. But it's fair to say that they definitely, scheme him up a little bit. But what offense really isn't scheming open their top playmakers with the ball in their hands? That would be my only thing that I would counter you with. But I hear what you're saying loud and clear. Let's keep going. Let's go to the next mailbag. That was a good one, PC. Thanks for sending that one in. This is straightforward. It's just a mock draft, which I like. We didn't really get a lot of speculative mock drafts from people. This is from Nick on Twitter. He says, thoughts on the mock. He says, KT at 4. At number 10, you're trading San Fran and you're getting Debo. This is based on the reports that Nakobe Dean and Tyler Linderbaum could both bottom out and fall out of the first round. He says Dean at 35, Linderbaum at 38. I still don't know how to say this dude's name. I know he's just a gigantic offensive tackle. Falele?
Yeah.
He says him at 69, so we're getting our offensive tackle, which I like. Marcus Jones at 111, Myjai Sanders at 117, Algier, Justin Ross. Any takeaways? I've got maybe one, big one.
Yeah, I mean, big takeaway, or well, two takeaways.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm fine with Linderbaum at 38 if that so happens to be the case. I probably wouldn't follow him up with another offensive lineman. Because my question becomes who's playing safety for us. Because I do think they're. I mean, again, this I don't have any sources or anything. This is just my opinion. I do think they're looking for that guy that could play next to Jordan Whitehead. And they should be looking at him in this draft. I know they like LaMarcus Joyner a whole ton, but that would be my biggest question. Is I do think in that 35 to 38 range, there is going to be a safety that we can nab up there. And then I'm just not a fan of Myjai Sanders for us. I'm sure he can fit somebody else very well and do what they need him to do. But I don't hate the top 4, that's for sure. If that's where we are after the second round, I think we'll be in good hands, and then it just maybe becomes switching up a couple things from 69 on.
Okay, there you go. Pretty good analysis there. I'll just go real quick here. Myjai, I'm agreeing with you. I'm not real intrigued by him. I could be overblowing it completely, but as an undersized defensive end, I just don't really like that because he's not going to be you can't really rely on him to play early downs. He's going to be more of a situational guy, best case scenario year 1. And so I'm not really into that. That's my big knock on this mock draft is just Myjai. There's a lot of really good players in this mock, though. Debo being one of them, obviously. KT, Dean. Nakobe Dean at 35, I will punch a hole through the wall in joy. I'll just gladly break my hand just because of how excited I'll be with that. I love Nakobe Dean. He was, I think I said it, he was my first crush of the draft process. Algier, I saw a comment saying that Algier won't be available that late. I think a lot of people would just point to last year and landing Michael Carter. Maybe, we weren't expecting him to go, significantly earlier than the fourth round, but I think it's fair to say that he could have been a third round pick. Algier going in the fifth round feels like I don't want to say that's on like the later end of where he could go, but I don't know. I don't see him being a third round pick. Do you? Do you see Algier being a third round guy? What are your thoughts on Algier, where he could go?
No, yeah, I don't see him being a third round guy. I think there's a lot of running backs that are kind of clumped together in a sense. You got the Brian Robinson from Alabama. You have Tyler Algier. You have Kyron Williams out of Notre Dame. You have Jerome Ford out of Cincinnati, and then you got the James Cook out of Georgia. I think really the Brees Hall and Kenneth Walker. I think they'll be the higher taken running backs, and then I think there'll probably be a significant drop off in terms of where we start to see running backs go because there are just so many of them that are available. So I don't think that end of the fourth, early fifth round for Tyler Algier is out of the question.
And if this isn't, I'm sorry, James. You were everything
No,
you were
it's
just
okay.
saying was no, it's great. I love this. This is what I love about the NFL draft and just sports in general. Big Al, Falele is a bum, and then no joke, 2 comments later, Falele is going to be the steal of the draft.
That's yeah.
This summarizes everything, guys, and I'm not pointing at you two and laughing. I'm just pointing at the fact that there's such a discrepancy amongst how we feel about these players. That's why the draft's so good. It's so amazing. All right, good stuff. Thank you, Nick, for submitting the mailbag. Algier will be gone by 111. I think that he does feel like a fourth round pick. I think that's fair to say. Grant Rude saying people are overvaluing him, and that's kind of how I feel. I feel like he's going to be in that fourth to fifth round range, and I don't know if it's a knock on him that he did have some fumbles in college football, and the 4.6 speed might be a turnoff to some teams. I mean, he's not going to probably ever be a number one running back in the National Football League, so that feels like a guy that goes in that fourth to fifth round range. So I would still love to get him, and I still think he is a great fit for what we're trying to do and the compliment. So I'll continue to root for him until he's gone to another
Mhm.
football team. All right, let's keep it
Yeah,
going. We got
he's
oh,
a
I'm sorry.
victim. He's I think he just winds up where he gets drafted is kind of just a victim of positional value at a certain point.
All right, there you go. Somebody dropped in a question here. We can do that. Feel free if I miss your questions, guys, leave a super chat, and that way I can see your comments if I miss it. He says if Ajabo drops into the second round, is he an option if we are double dipping at edge? James, I think you spoke on it before. Would you be comfortable double dipping with him being the guy that's the second edge, and you're really just kind of like putting him on the shelf for a year?
No, I'm not comfortable there. I think Ajabo he's an excellent player. Hasn't been playing football for all that long. So he's got a kind of a ceiling potentially through the roof there because an NFL team will get their hands on him and potentially turn him or reach that full potential that he possesses. But I just don't think the Jets are in that kind of position to be taking the chance on a guy who, yeah, I mean, listen, Carl Lawson tore his Achilles, so we're dealing with one situation there. But Ajabo tore his Achilles last month, and so really, there you're not expecting a thing from him in his rookie year. And yeah, sure, is there some potential upside? But if it doesn't work out, that's one of the picks that everyone will look back on and say, I can't believe JD did this. And I don't think JD is willing to take that risk.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that it sucks to say this out loud, but like we're really not in a position to take that risk right now. And I think I even mentioned it when we were talking about this a couple of weeks back. I said, like, a team like Green Bay can afford to draft him, just let him sit on the bench for a year. They've got pass rushers there. They're ready to go to the playoffs. I just don't think we can physically do it. Like, we just need those second rounders so badly for positions and for players that we know can play right away. And I think JD talked about it recently. He had said that those are guys that they are really counting on. If they spend all four of those top 38 picks, they're expecting those guys to be, if not starters, day one contributors in specific roles on offense or defense. Great question, though. Thank
Yep.
you, Duncan, for throwing this in the chat. Hit that like button, and definitely, there's over 80 of you. Hit the like button right now. Support the channel. Support the stream. Would really appreciate that. This is a great question. It's from Grant Rude, and he keeps directing them at Mike. So he's really excited to see Mike again. And Mike will be here tomorrow, guys. If you didn't know, Mike is back on the show. He's excited to come back on. He was actually supposed to be on Sunday, but his service was so bad that he couldn't even connect to the stream, which is perfect for Mike, right? Like, that's just right
Where
up
does
his
Mike
alley.
live?
He lives in Baltimore.
Okay. Bad service in Baltimore.
I don't know, dude. You can question Mike and still have questions.
Okay.
This is from Grant Rood. He says, "What do you think of the Burks slide leading up to the draft?" And he's saying slide because we don't even really know if there's going to be a slide. He says he ended up where I had pegged him since the end of the Razorback season, and I assume that you're talking about maybe the late, maybe you're talking about the late first, early second round. Grant Rood. James, what are your thoughts on where he might go and just the overall thoughts on Burke as I think early on we were all really talking a lot about Burks, and it's kind of cooled. I know that Connor Rogers of the Badlands and I think the Bleacher Report. Am I wrong on that one?
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yes, he's a really big fan of his. So just talk a little bit about his alleged slide.
Yeah, I mean, he was conversation right for pick 10 for a long time for us because it kind of, I guess, oddly enough, we were looking for Debo Samuel.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
we saw 6'3", and Debo Samuel's not 6'3", but Traylon Burks about 6'3", 220-ish or so, and presented a really interesting size speed combination for the Jets. A yards after catch ability there. I think he's going to go somewhere closer to about 20. The combine was disappointing. Now I don't want to make everything about the combine there, but I just think the guys that are ahead of him present a little bit more of a special quality. And that's Wilson, Williams, London, and for me, I'm putting Olave in that mix there. I think the four of them present some form of a dynamic quality, and Traylon Burks, how do I put it, does things really well, but I'm not sure I want to put that dynamic label on him ultimately there. So I think he'll be really good in the NFL, but I think he slides a little bit closer to 20, and those four guys go before him.
Okay. Yeah, and that's what he's saying. Grant Rood kind of specify what he was talking about. He was saying that he never really bought into the the projection that he could actually go at the 10th overall spot. I like Burks, and if they slide back from 10, or if they want to trade up from 35 to go nab him, let's do it. Let's dance. I'm all in favor of getting somebody, and I don't want to just be so vague and say like anybody, but I really do like a lot of these guys because they all bring something different to the table. And so Burks in that range to me, like you had said, in the 20s, I think makes a lot of sense, and I'm okay with it. Steel Stone, good to see you in the chat. He says never fall in love with a player's name. He says players come and go, just care about the positions we need being filled with solid NFL talent. Well, certainly we do, but as fans, we get attached to these players, as you well know, Steel Stone. It's just the nature of the beast. But you're probably right, though. Ephraim, he says, this has been one of the most exhausting pre-drafts in years. So many takes, so many mock drafts So many scenarios. 8 p.m. Thursday can't come fast enough. Yeah, and I feel like it went by the last week went by really, really fast. I know that the process of the whole off season really took a long time, but this last week really flew by. I felt like I don't know how you guys felt about it, but the last few days have really flown by for me personally. So, all right, let's keep going here. Thanks for the mailbag, Grant. Here's the next one, and this is from Matt Baum. He says, "How many trades will happen on draft night?" I actually like this question. It's kind of random and wide open. I don't think he means the Jets. I think he's just talking about the first round. What do you got? What do you got to guess for me?
So I'm gonna go with about three. I'm gonna go with three, and I think they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna be massive trades like inside the top 10. I think we're gonna see teams kind of move up or move down closer towards the end of the first round, or I still think the Jets are going to get back into this first round. I think that's going to be one of the trades. But I mean, every time I listen to the radio on my way to work, on my way home from work, and every time you ask about a team that's within the top 10, it's like that team would really love to, they really want to trade down, they really want to, but you have to be able to marry the interest and ultimately what someone's willing to come up, for. And I don't know if it's there. I just don't know if it's there. And so I'm going to say we see trades, but they're closer to the end of the first round as opposed to the beginning of the first round.
Yeah, if we're just guessing here, I'm gonna go ahead and say four. That was the number that first popped in my mind. Three is totally reasonable. I do remember, and I don't remember what year the draft was, but I remember there was one specific year where there were a lot. It was like 6 or 7 in the first round. It was like a lot of moving going on. I don't expect that. Although we did get a report earlier in the week that there was a lot of conversation about teams really wanting to move back. But that does, like we've always said, that doesn't always come to be.
Yeah.
You have to have somebody who wants to be in your range and your draft, your draft slot, because that's really how these GMs are doing it. And I think we talked about it with last week, James. They don't just look at the fact that it's a round one pick. They don't just look that it's a second round pick. They're really looking at, okay, here's our draft board, and we've got these players between 30 and 43, let's just say. And we really like those 13 players. And we don't really care because we see that there's 5 wide receivers we really like in that range, and there's 3 tackles. And we need both those players, or both those positions. So let's get into that range, and then we can pick somebody we really like.
Yep.
And I think that's more or less what they're trying to do. It's not really like, let's go get another first round pick. Let's go get another second round pick. They're trying to get into a range based on what's on their board, because they know they'll get somebody they really, really covet in that range. So Grant Root says he's going to say 17 trades, and I'm sure he's just kidding. So Jake says, I know. I hope Jets today brings my post. What does that mean? My post. Your post. Do you mean your mailbag? I don't know if I got your mailbag, Jake. I'm not sure. Let's go to the next one. That's Matt Baum. Sorry, Matt. We said 3 and 4. Here is the next one. It's from New Era Jets on Twitter. And actually, I don't think I got any mailbags from YouTube this week, guys. So boo, shame on you. It was all from Twitter, I'm pretty sure. This is from New Era Jets. He says, I've been hearing a lot of Jameson Williams to the Jets buzz. If some way we can pull off getting Debo and somehow being able to laugh Jameson Williams as well, I'm thinking we would already be second best in the AFC. It's quite the scenario, and I'm going to go ahead and say right now it's not happening. No disrespect to you, New Era Jets, because they're not going to invest the Tyreek Hill package to trade for Debo and then also use the 10th overall pick to land Jameson Williams. Like if we're just in a dream scenario right now, yeah, of course, that would be unbelievable. Elijah Moore, Jameson Williams, and Debo Samuel is just ridiculous. James, any thoughts on that mailbag?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm never going to crush anyone's dreams. So, I guess it's possible. I guess it's possible, but ultimately, I don't think it's something that's going to happen because you're right. If they have to give up, because it's a question mark. I don't. Is Jameson Williams going to be there at 10? I don't know. He might not be. And so at that point, even if you give up the Tyreek Hill package for Debo Samuel, Jameson Williams may not be there at 10. If Atlanta is trying to add a wide receiver, which I think they will try to, maybe he's the pick at 8. It's possible.
That's the thing. Yeah. I talked about that. I don't know. I think it may have been in a mock draft, the most recent one, because I had Jameson Williams going to the Jets at 10. And somebody said something like, oh, no, you trade back to get him. You can get him because of the knee injury. I think you're right. I think that there's a very good chance that he goes to Atlanta. You know, they're not winning right now, and they wouldn't win right now even if he were healthy. And so they might just take him, stash him for a few weeks, and they might just view him as the wide receiver one. And that's kind of what I've been saying, and many people have been saying as well, is that if he's truly wide receiver one, who gives a flick if he's not going to play in September or October? Go get him.
Yeah, no,
It's okay. And that's still the same thing. Like there's a guy I follow on Twitter. His name's Cali Jets. Good follow, good takes. The one
yeah,
thing I will say I disagree with, one thing that he had mentioned is that if the Jets start 1-6, that's bad. And of course that would be terrible, because that would just be yet another September, another October of really crappy football. But that, like, if we drafted if let's just say we drafted Drake London, or even Garrett Wilson,
mm-hmm.
would that be the difference in being 1-6 and versus like 3-4? Would that be the big difference? That one player, would that one position really be the big difference? I guess it technically could be, but I don't know. It seems to me unlikely that that would be the case. So I'm all in on just getting the guy that we think is the best player. I hope that makes it as simple as possible. Vern, shame on you. Anti-mailbag. Get your questions in, Vern. I want to talk to you, brother. That's what this is all about. You get to say whatever you want. Your hot takes. You can talk about Pierre Strong from North Dakota State. You can tell me why he's so good, and that's what the mailbag's all about, man. That's the other thing. I would like you guys to maybe like tell me why I'm wrong on some of my takes. Maybe you're afraid to offend me. I am not easily offended. So, Jared Helmuth with the super chat. Really appreciate the support. He says, is it weird that last year when we needed the most important position in football, it was a significantly less controversial and less stressful? I'm going to actually slightly disagree with that. There were a lot of people that wanted Justin Fields. And I think that you're probably right. It was less stressful because it was like kind of like, okay, it's this guy or this guy probably. But I don't know. What do you think, James, about that comment about how last year the most important position was significantly less stressful than what's coming up in this tomorrow's draft?
I think it was. I do think it was a little less stressful, only because we knew we were taking a quarterback. Like, I spent basically the entire offseason last year trying to figure out who the heck the quarterback should be, and now this year I'm trying to figure out how to fill 5 positions in 5 picks. As where last year was like, all right, as long as we get the quarterback that we want, right, we're going to get him at 2. And then really all we have to worry about after that, we have to add some help for him. So we're looking at the offensive side of the ball. Now I'm trying to fill edge. I'm trying to fill wide receiver. I'm trying to fill safety. I'm trying to fill the interior of the defensive line. I need offensive line depth. Where's the depth come from? Is it a tackle? Is it an interior guy? So I think this year, the worry about how we now surround the quarterback that we got last year kind of makes this year, I don't want to say a lot more stressful, but there is a sense of 1,000 different scenarios to try to help our quarterback here.
Yep. Good stuff. These are the comments I love on Draftmas Eve. Aaron Gertz, who's very active in the comments section of the videos that I post. He says, I'm going to get so hammered, I probably won't even remember who we drafted Friday morning. I will be having beverages tomorrow night. And by the way, guys, I do hope you tune in. I know that the kings of the draft are, Jets Talk 24/7. They have a massive draft stream, but if you're a channel flipper like I am, I hope you come by and you talk some Jets draft with us. We're going to be live tomorrow starting at 7:30 p.m. And then on Friday, James and I are going to be live for rounds 2 and rounds 3. And there you can see our logos kind of like snuggling together in the top right corner. So come and hang out with us, talk Jets football. I don't care if it's 5 people in the chat. I don't care if it's 500. We're going to be there no matter what. So come and hang out with us, talk a little bit of NFL draft because it's going to be fun, man. It's just sitting there and watching the draft together. So let's see here. Christy Marie, who we see in here occasionally, thank you for popping by. She says Walker 1, Hutchinson 2, KT 3, Sauce 4. I can't see Lovie Smith taking an offensive lineman at 3. Let's go ahead and let's do it one more time, James. And by the way, there is a segment tonight called The Closing Arguments where you and I each get a monologue, I guess, and we kind of wrap up our pre-draft, analysis, our thoughts, what we really feel like should happen. So we'll get to finalize all of these different takes that we've been having, but Ikem Ekwonu versus Sauce Gardner. What are you doing? I know what you're doing, but tell everybody else.
Yeah, no. If JD's looking at his board, and this is 1, 2, and 3, and he turns to his scouts and everyone in the room, and he says, "Listen, I want to hear arguments for and arguments between Ikem and Sauce. I'd go with Sauce there. I don't see the offensive tackle aspect being a need. I could make definitely the argument over corner over offensive tackle at 4, especially with the player that Christie picked there at 4. So ultimately, if I'm between those two guys, then I'm taking Sauce at 4.
Yes, and I agree. And again, I'm going to stand by the fact that I don't think that they will do what we want. I really do. I think that if the board breaks that way, I don't think they're going to take JJ. And I'm starting to feel the tightness in my gut right now. I think they will take Ikem Ekwonu in that scenario. And you can be very upset with me and you can tell me I'm an idiot for saying this. I'll be disappointed. I will not like that draft pick. It doesn't mean that he can't be a good football player because he's really, really talented and he might even be, exactly what this running game needs to just absolutely start beast moding people. But I wouldn't love it. It wouldn't move the needle for me enough because there's just some other players that I really like better and I feel like they could be a bigger impact on this team now and in the future. So
I've actually decided I wouldn't be happy. Like I was at a point. I was at a point where I was like, "Listen, I get it. I understand. It's the offensive line. He sees a guy he really, JD really loves, and it's an important position. We don't want to be in a situation where where we have Connor McDermott, plugging up a hole and Zach's running for his life again and gets injured. Like I was at a point where I was like, all right, if I guess I can see it. I like the player. He's a really good prospect, so I could talk myself into it. And I think I've gotten to the point where I would just overall just not be happy after the 4th pick if it's Ikem Ekwonu, and it has nothing to do with the player at all.
yes,
It is, in my opinion, just it's how do I put it? Like not like it's like a lack of distributing the resources, in my opinion. At this point, we're in year 3 now, and you went Mekhi Becton at 11. You traded 2 third-round picks to go up to get Elijah Vera Tucker.
Moves we agreed with too. Go ahead.
Absolutely. At this point, he needed to structure this offensive line, and then he follows that up and he gives Laken Tomlinson $44 million. So now he thinks he has the best guard tandem. Mekhi Becton, listen, I don't know what the heck's going on with Mekhi Becton, but I think, in my opinion, all you have to do is get the guy back on the field. He's going to ultimately put someone in the dirt probably the first time he's back on the field, and then everyone's going to be screaming all happy again that we have Makai Becton. That's my take on it. George Fant, ultimately, listen, he was super good last year. He's got another year on his contract, so I think he should be here for longer. They should figure out a way to keep him. And you also paid him. You paid him, the last 3 years now. And you threw money at Connor McGovern as well. He's making $9.5 million this upcoming year. So to then turn around and say, "Oh man, I love this offensive tackle prospect. We'll create a hole for ourselves. We'll take four. We'll take him at four." And then I just think at this point, it's like, when does it stop? I don't know when it stops. Is he just that infatuated with offensive linemen that he just can't get away from them? Because there's going to come a point where and obviously the offensive line will help put points on the board. I get it's an indirect kind of value there, but we got to get after the quarterback. And ultimately, there, I would even at that, I would take Jermaine Johnson at 4 if that's what it came down to as well.
Yeah, I like the fact that you're adamant about it and that you have a pretty firm feeling on it. I'll be disappointed. I'm not going to be raging, but I won't be very happy either. Let us know what you guys think about that. The Ikem Ekwonu, conundrum. Some people are all about it. I was on Boy Green's channel on Sunday, and he talked about how he would be okay with it. And I was like, I don't know, man. I would just be kind of disappointed. Yeah, there are people that are really against Jermaine Johnson, but then again, there's also people, as we've seen in tonight's chat, there are people who absolutely love Jermaine Johnson. So no consensus. Just because go ahead.
Yep, go ahead. Sorry.
No,
John, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's not a knock on Joe Blewett. It's more or less. I don't, I'm not like sitting here and saying like, oh, Joe Blewett hates him, so he has no chance. Just the same way I would say, like, if I love a player, it doesn't mean that he's like guaranteed to be any good. Blewett knows what he's talking about. He does the work. He does the film work. But it doesn't mean that he's a bad football player, has no chance. Oh, we're having fun. We're talking draft. We're all getting stressed out. I can feel the tension. Joshua McMillan, he says it's fun to have an opinion and everything before the draft. But at the end of the day, we're going to be a huge fan in a week. And that's a good point too. Like we'll somehow we'll convince ourselves that we love Ekwonu, even if we do end up selecting him. So I hear that and appreciate that. All right, let's keep going. We do still have, I think, two more. I can't tell. Here we go. Brandon Gramenos from Twitter again. He says, how do you think we would deploy the offense mostly? He says, I think our OC wants to run 2 tight ends and 1 running back. We've talked a lot about the usage of formations. We definitely want to run 12 personnel more. What are your overall thoughts? If it's not 12 personnel, what are some other formations or setups that you think are optimal for the team pre-draft, which we still don't really know what they're going to do offensively?
Yeah, so I think 12 personnel. They definitely wanted to run that a whole lot more last year, and they couldn't. They didn't have the tight ends for it. And so they'll deploy that a lot more, and they'll use, obviously it's a run game. It's not a solely run heavy personnel grouping, but with the 2 tight ends that you just added, they're going to be able to move the needle in run blocking, but also get down the field receiving. 11 personnel is going to be another really super popular one, and again, it's just 1 running back, 1 tight end. You got 3 receivers at that point. And especially if they go a guy like Jameson Williams at 10, then you ultimately have your pickings of whoever the tight end is going to be, Conklin or Uzama. And then you will have Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, and Jameson Williams on the field at one time. And I think that's really a dynamic option there. And what Uzama and Conklin allow you to do that the Jets could not also do last year, they didn't really even try, was to try to run the ball out of 11 personnel. If a team sees you in 11 personnel and you don't run the ball, you all of a sudden become predictable. because then when you throw two tight ends out there, then you're probably going to try to run the ball. So you become totally predictable. So the Jets did themselves a favor. I think we'll see a lot of 11 personnel, a lot of 12 personnel, and then based on listen, if they add another tight end in this draft, maybe he looks a little bit different than Conklin and Uzama, and you're in a 13 personnel type of deal. You got three tight ends out there, so I think there's a ton of possibilities, but I do think we'll see a lot more 12 personnel than we did last year.
I like the idea that you threw out there with the draft taking a tight end. I would love to see a three tight end set. I know it's not one that you're going to use all the time, but as a change of pace, if you're trying to grind it out a little bit and run play action with those two tight ends that we talked about, Uzama and Conklin, I love the idea. And depending on who they take in the draft, if it's a field stretcher, which I think you and I are kind of vibing on that one, kind of feeling the same way, get a guy who can make some big plays but needs some development year one. That's a lot to throw at a defense to have to figure out. Like, are they running the football? Because we feel pretty good about those two guys as blockers. Or are they going to build off of the run and run play action on us with those three tight ends and they can kind of go all over the field? So I love the idea of using 12, using 13. I'm not an expert on the numbers, by the way. I knew 12 personnel a little bit. I would like to see us continue to use the three wide receivers set, and I know that 11 personnel, is that a I formation or is that a three wide, one tight end, one running back?
Yep. So the number system, the first number is the amount of running backs that you have on the field, and then the second number is the amount of tight ends that you have on the field there. So you could deploy them in a variety of different ways, right? If you're in, 11 personnel, you could have a situation where you have a trips formation because you have your three wide receivers, and then you have your tight end on the opposite side of the field, or you could have a doubles formation where you have two wide receivers on one side and then another wide receiver on the other, and then you have your tight end attached at the line of scrimmage. Maybe you motion them into the backfield into kind of a fullback position also. So there's a lot of different ways to kind of deploy them formation wise. It's just a matter of who's on the field and how are you ultimately using them.
And this comment from HD Marino. He is a star of the Sunday call-in show. And if you didn't know, guys, I am doing a weekly Sunday call-in show, and we're going to do it on Sunday night. It's going to be after the draft. So I love that our Wednesday and our Sunday shows kind of like basically bookend the NFL draft, which is kind of cool. But anyway, call in and literally sit opposite of me, just like James is right now. That's literally what the Sunday call-in show is. HD Marino is saying, I think Conklin could be a star for us this year. It's a strong word to use, but I think the point is that Conklin could be one of the better tight ends that we've had in a long time. I'm not gonna go reaching for the stars, and I'm not knocking you, HD Marino. By the way, his name really is Dan Marino, by the way. I don't know if you knew that.
Is it really?
His name is Danny Marino. Yeah. So, here's the thing. I wanted Conklin, and I made that clear like the night before free agency. He was in my predictions or whatever. I still see him as a 40 to 60 receptions tight end, and maybe even a little bit on the lower end based on the fact that we have Uzama as well.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like great. If we can get 40 receptions from Conklin and maybe another 30 to 40 from Uzama, that's wonderful production at the tight end position. I don't need a star, at least not this year at the tight end spot, but I love Conklin, man. I think he's in the prime of his career right now, and he had a really, really solid year last year. Really took a step forward. Just over 60 receptions, almost 600 yards, and he's pretty good after the catch. I noted that when I was watching him, he is pretty good with the football in his hands. Not a Darren Waller, not a Travis Kelce, anything like that, but he's pretty decent. So there you go. Michelle with her hot takes. I have a story about her, but I don't know if I'm prepared to share that one. Maybe I'll save that for the Sunday call-in show. She says, if we run a 3 tight end set, you'll have to come scrape me off the ceiling. I'll be so excited. Yeah, she likes that physical brand of football. Definitely love to run the football and ground and pound, baby. That's all I'll say there. Yep. All right. we've got one last mailbag. And again, thank you to everybody that submitted them. If you're watching this live, if you're watching this after it airs, we do this every week. So if you want your comments read, this is an easy way out. I am giving you an option to be on the show without having to, um, fight for it in the chat, if you will. Mike Green, he says, rumor has it and note, I'm sorry, and I don't feel this will ever happen, but a scenario that the Jets trade more, the 10th pick, and a second rounder for Samuels. He says, how do you feel about this scenario? Do you think it could happen? Do you like it? Did you see the report, James? Simple question. Or not the report,
Uh,
the rumor, the BS. Sorry, I gave away my take. Did you see that alleged report online?
yeah, I saw. Actually, funny story. I'll make it quick though. But
Yeah.
my dad's a big Jet fan also, and he likes college football, but my dad's a Notre Dame fan. I don't know if he's actually like pledged his allegiance, but I've noticed it over the years. So he's to me a Notre Dame fan. So he likes watching Notre Dame, and so he'll watch football on Saturdays. But we talk about the draft a lot because he wants to know what the heck the Jets should do in the draft. And he was watching, I think it was NFL Network or ESPN or whatever it was. And this was one of the proposals from, I think, one of the analysts on the set was 10, 35, and Samuels. And he called me like immediately. He called me and he was like, do you see what this guy, do you see what this guy's putting up there? He's like, that's way too much. No chance. I said, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So I saw it because my dad kind of pointed it out to me. He called me as soon as he saw it. And I think that's where it came from was this analyst, maybe NFL Network. I want to say it's NFL Network. Ultimately, that was a package that he proposed the Jets should offer for Deebo Samuel. But no thanks.
It is the most bogus trade proposal ever.
Yeah.
And I'm not often going to be like so sure of myself, but there's got to be almost no possibility that the New York Jets would trade the 10th overall pick and Elijah Moore for Deebo Samuel, let alone 10, 35 and Elijah Moore. That's just an asinine trade. And if it were executed, there you go. There will be my rage. That would be awful. Just a terrible, terrible trade. It would be an unmitigated disaster. That move would be. And you're right. Jason Chair, who is a 49ers fan in the chat, he says, you guys really think the Jets front office is dumb enough to make that trade? They better not be that dumb. And no, I don't think they are. I think that is more or less just somebody looking for a little bit of clickbait, a little bit of action on the Twitter or wherever it may have come from. Smokestack, he says, Penny, you got to get back to posting on the Gangrene forum. I try, man, and I appreciate you coming on here from Gangrene. Long story short, I've been posting on that message board since like 2004. I got on my computer after the Jets lost to the Steelers in the divisional round with the Doug Bryan game where he missed 2 field goals to lose the game. And I was depressed and I was like, let me get on a message board and just like vent basically. And ever since then, I've been on the Gangrene. But anyway, I would love to. I have this much time to do anything in my life. I have to run. I have no time. I spend all of my free time with my family. And if I'm not doing that, I am doing this or my actual full-time job that I do as well. So I would love to, Smokestack. I really do. I wish I could, but it's just not in the cards right now. Maybe over the summer, because that will, I'm a teacher during the year. And so maybe during the summer, I'll have the opportunity to ham it up with you guys. All right. Let's go to the last one. Did we already do it? No. Yes, we did. We did the last one. So we have officially completed the mailbag, an hour and 4 minutes into the stream. And Justin Tennant is a new subscriber to Jets Today. Thank you very much for the subscription. And technically, my man, you got in just in time. How about we do the Jets jersey giveaway? Are you okay with doing that right now?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, so I will let you know once I get the number. I'm going to
Yep.
need you to talk about something while I figure out who the winner is, because there's a little bit of wiggle, like a little bit of things that I need to do on my end. So why don't I open up the first topic for the night,
Yep.
and then I'll do the number, and then I'll let you go with it if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, good. So the next topic is just straightforward. It's a we got here we go. Now all my subscribers are joining. Jet Psychic, thank you for joining, and technically you are in the running as well for the free jersey. The top 10. I feel like for us Jets fans as of right now, we are trying to figure out what the top 10 is going to look like because we have two picks in the top 10.
Yep.
So, having said that, I want to hear what your top 10 looks like. I have a top 10 right now. I'm planning to do my final round one mock draft. So this technically isn't the official, but I'm going to go ahead and give this one tonight. Let me go to my number generator real quick, and then I'm going to let you roll with it, James. So here is the generator. I want to make sure that I can see this on here. Yes. Okay, I'm going to hit the button, and once we have a number, I'm going to go to my YouTube studio and I'll find out who the lucky guy or gal is. And the number is 618. So whoever that is in the subscriber list is the winner of the jersey. I'm going to write that number down so I don't screw anybody over. 618, whoever you are, is the winner of the jersey, and I'm going to find that out right now. And James, you are going to talk about your top 10 mock draft
Mm-hmm.
for the NFL draft. So it's all you, man.
All right. Perfect. Cool. All right. So, and right, I'm doing all 10. I could do all 10 teams, right? That's
Yeah,
that's what
you go right at it, brother.
All right. So I've heard a gazillion things on Twitter today, so I'm taking all of that out of my brain and doing my top 10 based on what I think teams should essentially do.
Okay.
So this is what I think, not what, because I don't know if anyone knows what the heck's going to happen anyway. So the Jaguars, I think they're gonna take Trayvon Walker. I do. I know they are interested in him from a GM standpoint, and then ultimately, I think the owner is more so Aiden Hutchinson. But I think history tells us Trenton Balky is going to go for the measurements, the physical tools, the ceiling, and I'm going to make Trayvon Walker pick number one. I wouldn't make the pick, but I think that's what they ultimately do. They're the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they take the chance. Second pick, Detroit Lions. I cannot see a situation where they pass on Aiden Hutchinson. I think they're going to keep him within the state of Michigan. He becomes a face of that franchise that is in desperate need of one. And I think the way he plays screams Dan Campbell. I can't picture Dan Campbell watching Aiden Hutchinson film and not being ecstatic at the opportunity to land him. So I'm going to go with Aiden Hutchinson there. At number three, I'm the Houston Texans. They look like they're potentially going to stick with Davis Mills, at least for another year. And I think he did earn that. I think he earned that, given especially the quarterback class here. And they need to keep him upright. And the second thing they need to do, they need to figure out a way to run the ball. They ran for 8 touchdowns last year. That's it. And then I think it was 3.1 yards per carry. Those were both so far dead last in the NFL that I think Ike Ekwonu is a perfect pick for them. And he's a little bit of a culture builder there. He helps with the run game, no doubt about it, and then ultimately offers the upside in the pass blocking game. So that brings me to the New York Jets at 4. So again, what I am doing, if that's how the top 3 shakes out, you take the card, you write Kayvon Thibodeau's name on it, and you send it in as fast as you possibly can. You do not worry about anything that you potentially think he has character-wise. It could be a franchise changer. My fear is that the Jets haven't had an edge presence since John Abraham, I would probably say, or a consistently good edge presence since John Abraham, and there's going to be one of them looking them dead in the face, and they decide that maybe they don't like his certain character feel. We go through a process where we didn't learn from Micah Parsons last year, and then Kayvon Thibodeau falls to somewhere, potentially your own stadium, just in a different color, and it's a decision that's regretted for years and years and years. So I'm taking Kayvon Thibodeau at 4 if he's available. Since this is a Jets channel, if he's not there, I would take Jermaine Johnson at 4.
Who was your third pick? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Icky Aquanu.
Okay, we're 4 for 4
Um,
right now. By the way, the same exact picks for you and me.
Look at that.
Yeah.
But and my love for Sauce won't ever go away. But we'll talk about it when we do our. I think our if we're doing an actual mock draft at some point. I just think position wise, the Jets can fill 4 of their biggest needs within the first 4 picks, but that has to be unlocked by taking an edge at 4. So if Kayvon's not there, I'm going to trust my eyes. I'm not going to let the analytic numbers tell me otherwise. I'm going to trust what I saw when I watched the film. I went back again, and I would be comfortable with Jermaine Johnson at 4 if they decide to do that. Number 5, the New York Giants. Wink Martindale is the DC over there now. They're going to play a ton of man coverage, so that's my pick at 5. Sauce Gardner is in New York, but he's in Giants blue, and it's a perfect fit for them. They ultimately look to trade James Bradbury later on in this draft because they took Sauce Gardner at 5. The Carolina Panthers, Ike Ekwonu is gone, but I still think they're looking for someone to help protect whoever that quarterback's going to be. And from the University of Alabama, that is going to be Evan Neal. I love the prospect. I have question marks here and there about him. It's mostly in the run game, but I think he's ultimately a solid to really, really good offensive tackle prospect, and he would fit perfectly with the Carolina Panthers. And so that brings me back to the New York Giants. And the New York Giants, in my opinion, they may be looking edge here, but I think where they ultimately go is they need another tackle. Andrew Thomas came along last year. I think Charles Cross is the pick at 7 for the Giants. He is a guy with already incredible pass protecting ability. Maybe needs improvement in the run game, but that can come there. They automatically get a guy that they can bookend this offensive line with Andrew Thomas, and maybe Daniel Jones actually has some time back there to try to make something happen.
Yeah,
Number 8.
Say
Oh, go
whatever you
ahead.
want to. No, I was just going to interject. Just you can say whatever you want about Daniel Jones. He's had turnover issues, but they certainly do need to build up that offensive line. And I like the pick of Charles Cross. I think people are maybe sleeping on him. I'm one that's I didn't have him in my top 10, but certainly you can make the case for it.
Absolutely. I think he's not one of those where it's like I'm just reaching for a need. I think he can absolutely be picked there, and it's not some form of a reach. Number 8, I'm gonna go that the Atlanta Falcons decide that we took Kyle Pitts last year, who is a freak of nature, and so we're gonna try to pair him up with another freak of nature in terms of height and size. And I'm going to go with Drake London is the pick for the
Oh
Atlanta
wow.
Falcons at 8. I think they give Marcus Mariota at least the ability to succeed in year 1 and have some success, but they definitely need to add to the wide receiver room. And I think if you wind up in the red zone and you have Drake London and Kyle Pitts, you're putting the defense in an absolute bind in terms of how they're going to defend that. And it gives your quarterback a little bit more room or wiggle room. If the ball's not great, either of those guys can go up and get it. And I don't think Drake London is given enough credit for his route running. I think that is a strong point of his game, given the fact that he's 6'5". He does things pretty well in that regard. And then also he does have the yards after catch ability. I think in the beginning we just saw him as a jump ball guy. And yeah, of course, that's probably the best part of his game. But I do think he can take it to the next level there. Seattle, number 9. This is a difficult one. because in my mock draft we took Kayvon Thibodeau, so Jermaine Johnson is still available there, but I don't think Seattle has the ability or will have the ability to pass up on Derek Stingley Jr. I still think he is really good. We're
Stingley at 9.
at 9.
Okay, we really broke off once the top four were done. We are not much alike. It's awesome though. This is great. This is good.
Yeah. And so I had a hard time between Jermaine Johnson and Derek Stingley Jr., but given what we saw in the secondary from Seattle, right? We saw them one lose Shaquille Griffin the year before
No, I'm just
from.
sorry. Sorry, I was I felt
That's
like I
okay.
was distracting you. Sorry, I was just
No,
pointing to the chat. A great name to drop. Sorry. Go ahead.
no. They lost Shaquille Griffin to the Jacksonville Jaguars, not this past free agency, the year before. And then they lost DJ Reed to us this free agency. And so now they're left at a spot where they paid a safety 70 something million dollars. And now they're looking to add to this cornerback room. And I don't think they look at Derek Stingley Jr. as someone they could pass up on despite the injury concerns. I still think he's ultimately a high end prospect in this draft that Seattle can't pass up on.
Mm-hmm.
He could very well go a lot earlier than that.
We talked about
Um,
that at the top of the show, man. I mean, we've been not really mentioning him in that class. We've always said that he's, maybe a risk because of the injuries and the drop or alleged drop in play from his freshman
yep.
year. But it might not be the case because that's the other thing. Like these NFL, I think I said it, a few weeks back. These GMs and these scouts, they have serious balls. They are not afraid to take a risk on a guy if they feel like they've got the traits and they feel like if they hit on that pick, it's going to not only help the team, it's going to help their career. Like they're trying to find the best players and they're not scared of anything. So, all right,
Right.
number 10, New York Jets. I think we already heard you tell who you're going to take, but you can talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Jamison Williams out of Alabama. The Jets need to. I described it last night. They need to strike the fear in defenses. They haven't struck fear in defenses for almost as long as I've been alive. They need someone who could put the defense in a bind, open up Elijah Moore underneath. Jamison Williams can play in a ton of different alignments. He can be in motion, so he's not limited in my opinion, to just some kind of speed demon that needs the straight line speed to have success. And so with Jamison Williams, yeah, he may not be ready at the start, but when you pair Zach Wilson with a guy like that, Zach Wilson's not going to have he's not going to be trigger sensitive if Jamison Williams is running down the field. He's going to give him a chance and he's going to allow him to run underneath that football. So Jamison Williams, I may have him and Garrett Wilson very close in my rankings, but Jamison Williams gives us the dynamic that the Jets have been looking for in a very long time.
So I'm not trying to say that the offense should be changed, but one thing that I would like to see in year 2 for him is he really excels at throwing the ball down the field. And I know that's not really what this offense is all about. But if we do go get a guy like him who is so damn explosive down the football field, and you said it best, just giving him a chance, to get down the field and make plays with the football, I would like to see that a lot. And so no spoilers need to be, I'm not worried about spoiling this. We agree on this. If he's available at number 10 overall, I am comfortable either re-signing Keelan Cole to start the year or getting some other veteran free agent to fill the void for the time that he's out, or just simply double dipping in the draft. I'm okay with dealing with the injury. Is it ideal? No. But I do think that, and I remember we were watching the college football game and we were texting a little bit back and forth, I think. And I remember when he got hurt, we were like, damn, like huge injury, because he really was looked at as a consensus where there really hasn't been a whole lot of consensus in this draft. He was probably almost a layup for wide receiver 1 in this draft class had it not been for that knee injury. And we've seen Joe Douglas kind of swing for the fences, and I feel like it's a perfect swing for the fence kind of draft pick. One that you will need to have a plan for, though, because Even if he just misses the entire month of September, that's still, 3 games probably where he's going to not play. So you got to have some sort of contingency plan.
Yep.
All right, good stuff. I'm not going to spend too much time here, guys. I'm going to go through my top 10. James, you did a phenomenal job. Trayvon Walker 1 is my pick as well. And I actually tried to do it so that I'm predicting what I think the teams will do. And I didn't really, I'm not really reading every report necessarily that's out there. I'm just kind of going based on need and also the players and also some of the rumors as well. So Trayvon Walker, number 1, I don't think he's necessarily worthy. I think that they should be taking a Kwanu, but they're going to potentially, that's, the strong indication right now is they're going to swing for Walker, which I think is kind of crazy, to be perfectly honest with you. So Walker 1, Aiden Hutchinson. Right now, the latest rumor is they're looking at Thibodeau. I think that's smoke. I think that they would be crazy to pass on Hutchinson at 2. I think he's perfect for them. Ikem Ekwonu, I have also going to the Texans. And again, my bias may be creeping in. I still think that makes the most sense for them. And then I have Kayvon Thibodeau to the Jets at number 4 overall. Say whatever you want. Don't you dare do that to me, Grant Rude. You're not wrong, though. You're not wrong, though. Anyway, back to what I was saying. I just think that it makes a lot of sense for us to go with Kayvon Thibodeau. High ceiling, and honestly, I don't know if his floor is a bust. Like a lot of people are saying he has a lot of bust, potential. I don't know. I don't see it necessarily. I think he's a pretty daggone good prospect. So you take a swing and you think, potentially this guy has the makings of a really good football player in the National Football League. So he's my pick at number 4. I actually have the New York Giants taking Evan Neal at number 5. I think they're going to try to make sure they get their offensive tackle before the Panthers, who may take an offensive tackle. I don't have the Panthers selecting an offensive tackle in this mock draft. But I think the Giants are just going to try and make sure that they get their guy. And I think they'd be okay with getting a couple of defensive players at the 7 spot. So Evan Neal's my pick at 5. I actually have a quarterback going in the top 10. And it's based on what I think might happen. I actually have the Panthers because I think they're just, I don't know. The Panthers might be a mess. They might be one of the worst run teams right now. They're just making weird decisions. That whole thing with, who was the daggone coach for the Giants for like a minute? What's his name?
Ben McAdoo.
Yeah, Ben McAdoo, like a literal goofball in the press conference, says Sam Darnold's our quarterback when they almost certainly are not talking about that behind the scenes. I don't know. I just feel like the Panthers. Anyway, long story short, they're taking Malik Willis. I have them taking a quarterback. They're going to get a guy that can come in, play year 1, use his legs, and can get the ball down the football field to some of these speedy wide receivers like DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and the like. Sauce Gardner, I have going to the Giants at number 7. So you and I had the same idea. We just had the players in different spots. So Sauce Gardner goes 7 to the Giants. I have the Falcons taking Garrett Wilson. You're right. The Drake London thing is super intriguing. Yeah, I know, guys. It's so annoying. I get that same ridiculous spam every time. I don't understand. But anyway, Garrett Wilson to me is the safest option, and maybe the Falcons will just opt for that, getting a guy that's a little bit more safe. So number 8, I have them going Wilson. And then the Seahawks, I actually have them taking Kyle Hamilton. Maybe they won't do that now that I'm looking at it because they already have Adams. So I kind of regret that pick now that I'm looking at it on the paper. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy what you did. I'm going to say Derek Stingley because I hate that pick as I'm looking at it. Derek Stingley at number 9, y'all. And then the last pick is the same as James. And again, we do not prepare or we don't share notes with each other prior to the show. This was really just, a similarity that we have. Thibodeau and then Jameson Williams at the 4 and 10 spots. Ben Wackadoo. Yes, indeedy. Ben Wackadoo. All right, let's go to the drum roll. So the thing that everybody's so interested in on. And again, if you hadn't been paying attention for the last month or so, I am doing the jersey giveaway right now. I have the winner. It was number 618 on the subscriber list, and this is the name that it popped up. Al-Hassan Barry. And I will let you all know this person has until the draft.
Mm.
So if this is a person that subscribed and doesn't watch, they are not going to get their jersey. So don't lose hope. If this person does not claim their jersey by the time the draft kicks off, I will be doing a re-roll, and we will give it to somebody else. So I'm going to reach out to this person. I'm going to try to email them. Congratulations, you are the winner of the jersey. And again, they have 24 hours to claim their New York Jets jersey. Hopefully you guys aren't too sad if you didn't win. And so there you go. Only allows subscribers to post. I bet you that's a setting. And I didn't even think about that. The only problem is then I don't get to interact with some of my not subscribed people. But I guess maybe that'll encourage them to subscribe. Who knows? All right, let's go ahead and let's move on. Let's get to the next topic. Your mock draft was better than mine. I go ahead and give you the tip of the cap because I stupidly gave the Seahawks Kyle Hamilton.
No, it's good.
We're going to do our closing arguments right now because it's 8:26. And we're then going to do our mock draft. It'll be the last mock draft of the entire pre-draft process. This is funny. This is my alter ego. This is a wide open. Topic, guys, and I want to involve you guys in the comments. So leave your hottest of takes, maybe this the thing that you feel most strongly about for the New York Jets. Let's try to keep it specific to the Jets. James, anything you want to wrap up all of the months of discussion? I mean, it's been since January, literally, because the season was over and we'd already started talking about the NFL draft. So 4 months of speculation at this point. Is there anything that you feel like you want to repeat that you've been saying? Things that you think the Jets are going to do that you don't agree with and you want them to do this instead? Just go bananas and treat it like a podcast, basically. Like, go ahead and just tell me your closing arguments for the 2022 NFL draft.
So my closing argument is the way the board is, or I guess the way I rank some of these guys, is the Jets have a chance. If I was speaking to Joe Douglas, this is exactly what I would tell him. I would tell him, I think that you have a chance with your first 4 picks to potentially fill starting positions that you need help in. And the way the board is going to fall, I think the top 10, it would shake out to be edge and wide receiver. My first thought to him would be, hey, listen, if Kayvon Thibodeau's there, you take Kayvon Thibodeau. You obviously go Jameson Williams, like I mentioned there. But then when you're sitting at 35 and 38, I think where the value is there is safety and interior defensive line. That's where I want to go with my second round picks. And I'll throw out some names there. I truly believe 35 there. We'll take that and we'll go back up into the first round. And Lewisine, if that's the choice, I think it's an excellent choice to make. If it's not Lewisine, I would take a chance. I would take a chance on a safety named Jalen Pitre. And I've been trying forever to make him fit because I think he is less of the single high safety than Lewisine is, but I think he makes too many plays for me not to find a spot for him and let the coaching staff deal with. And then ultimately, I do think the Jets should attack the interior of the defensive line with either 35 or 38, however those 2 picks shake out. Attack the interior of that defensive line, get someone next to Quinnen. You ultimately get Carl Lawson back. You get, KT or Jermaine Johnson, whoever it is at 4. You now have Quinnen Williams for another 2 years. You just picked up his 5th-year option. And now I need someone else. I said it yesterday. I'm going to try to get it right this time. Quantity doesn't always equal quality. They have a lot of depth around that defensive line, but they need one more piece at this point. If we're sitting there with an edge pick at 4, Carl Lawson, Quinnen Williams, I think there are some really solid options at the 38 spot, whether it's Travis Jones at defensive tackle, a guy I talked with Andrew Golden last night about. His guy in that area is Logan Hall out of Houston.
Hmm.
And so that was a pretty interesting name to hear there because he is a little bit slimmer. He's 6'6", but he's like 280. So Travis Jones is a little bit different looking than him, but they both provide interior pass rush ability or upside with the also the ability to stop the run. And so what I would tell Joe Douglas is ultimately you can walk away and go into pick 69 now being able to attack depth of certain positions. You grab four starters in four needy positions. Now you go ahead, take high upside guys, take depth players that you want to add, think about the future, and really set yourself up for not only 2022, but then 2023. So that's my closing argument to Joe Douglas. Take guys that can fill starting roles right now, and you will have the ability to do what you want after that, whether it's trade up, trade down, get more picks, get back into the draft, whatever it is. And so before I give you the floor there, John, Grant Root, I think maybe has asked the same question for me a couple times and I missed it.
Yep.
But he said, I need to know what James thinks of Smith
Yep.
last year. Presumably
Yeah.
that means Devontae Smith.
Yeah, I actually saved the question from earlier, and I'm happy to pull.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was telling him that I was happy to get that question answered because it is a good one, an interesting one. He's so spoiled, but he deserves it though, right? He's our guy.
No, it's a good question because
it's a really good question. I'm gonna read it so you can answer it. So,
Yep.
Question for James: Did you like Smith? He's talking about Devonta Smith last year more than you like Jamison Williams this year, or vice versa.
Yeah, so I would go with Devonte Smith, and that's not a knock on Jameson Williams, but they are two different people, and Devonte Smith had the nuance in his game that I think Jameson Williams can get there, and obviously I'm picking him at 10, so I believe he can get there. But I do think there are certain points where you see it and you're like, all right, maybe on that slant route, maybe on that dig route, he could have done something a little bit differently. He could have, attacked the blind spot in a different way on the cornerback. Devonte Smith was very, very advanced. And sure, he wasn't as fast. He's not as fast as Jameson Williams, but he's just as effective in the way he plays. He was my clear wide receiver 2 after Jamar Chase last year. And this year, I guess where I'm at with the rankings is I really wouldn't be mad if you put a couple different guys up at the top there. And so I think ultimately that answers the question in terms of I would have ranked Devonte Smith higher than Jameson Williams.
And I think that's fair to say. There was a lot of discussion about that earlier in the show. And I kind of agree. I would say Devonta Smith probably, gets the nod. And you made mention of it. And again, I'm not a film expert, but from everything that I'd seen from him and everything that I had been reading about him, he was the one. And the word you use is perfect. The more nuanced wide receiver, more of a refined product than maybe Jameson Williams is coming into the National Football League. But that's not really a knock on Jameson Williams. It's more or less a compliment to Devonta Smith as a player.
Yeah.
All right. Lots of final statements by the comments, and I'll read a few of them. Gumball 3D, he says, let's go get Ruckert in round 3. He is my favorite tight end in the draft. I would love to get him because I feel like he is the all-around tight end. He is not a one-trick guy. Doesn't mean that I would take him in round 3 because I don't think that's the right place and right time for us to take one, but it is a great range for him to go. I think that's a fair... if that's your guy, that's a good spot to take Mr. Jeremy Ruckert. Manny C has been adamant about Jordan Davis this whole offseason. He's saying he just wants him. And I don't know if he's saying where he wants to take him. I would imagine at 10. I can't get on board with that, but I will respect you a hell of a lot, though, because you have stayed with that for a very, very long time. So much respect to you. Smokestack says, I want a linebacker and a defensive tackle with the second round picks. So similar to James, he's just opting for the linebacker over a defensive tackle. NY Jets super fan, he says safety in round 3. And then somebody was talking about trade backs with the Steelers. Here it is. Talking Jets with Tigo. He says, my hot take is the Jets are going to trade with the Pittsburgh Steelers all the way back to number 4, and we're going to give them the 4th overall pick. And we would get a boatload. We might even get more than that, Tigo. First next year, a second this year. We could get a haul. They're coming up from pretty far away. I know that the draft value chart might say that's probably about what you get, but in those big trade ups into the top 5, you're pretty much paying a haul. I like that one. I don't mind that one. I would love to have more future capital, but I do agree with James, and that's what's going to bleed into my closing argument here. And mine's pretty simple. It's not necessarily player specific. I want this team to be a good football team now, better. And I'm not saying playoffs. I'm not saying 10 wins. I want my team to start to look like I want them to look like a football squad. And I want to feel not that nervous energy on game day. I want to feel that excited, nervous energy, if that makes any sense. When we come up to Sunday, morning and afternoon, there are times where I'm literally just like dreading it because you feel the ass kicking coming. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there's games where we went into last year where we were literally just like saying like, okay, if we have a few things break our way, maybe it could be close. And I'm so sick of that mentality and that feeling on Sundays. I want to feel like we have a shot in more games than not. And so my big push for Joe Douglas, and you said it best, maybe that's how I should have phrased this topic, is Joe Douglas is on the line. And if I had Joe Douglas on the line right now, I would tell him, get explosive players at any position that you want. And I've been saying no offensive tackles, and if they take him and he's a Hall of Famer, I'm happy to eat my words. I just want to start making big plays on Sunday. I want to score more points, and I want to make big plays on defense. So if it's getting the edge rushers to get after the quarterback, yeah, let's do it. I'll do a little Walter White.
Goddamn right.
I want to get after the quarterback. I'm sick of not hitting the quarterback. Seeing the quarterback drink a cup of tea in the pocket and just like no immediate impact on the way. Sick of that shit. I want it to be over. Turnovers, creating them on defense. One of the best plays in football, bar none, and that in the only play that's better is scoring touchdowns. A turnover is one of the plays that you get up out of your chair without even thinking about it, and you're punching the air and you're fired up and you're like, let's freaking go, man. Like you're fired up. A turnover is huge. And I want to start seeing us creating turnovers in more ways than one. Strip sacks, ripping the ball out of the running backs, the ball carrier's hand, batting the ball up in the air and getting an interception, whatever it is. I want to see the ball getting in these defensive players' hands. So get the players that can do that, whether it be a linebacker, a Christian Harris, Brandon Smith from Penn State, Dax Hill in the back end, Lewis Cine I've talked about. I think he's one of those guys that the Jets are going to really want to go get on draft weekend. Just go get those players. And it sounds like I'm talking about playoffs in this conversation. I'm really not. I just want them to start looking like a squad, a football team that people don't really want to play, whether that's us being 8-9 at the end of the season, 7 and 10, but really playing our balls off and showing something. That's what I want. So that's my draft message. My closing argument is go get some damn good football players, some explosive players that are going to make some big plays on Sundays. I don't want to see any more games where I don't want to feel that feeling anymore on Sunday of not feeling like we can win the football game. So there you go. Go ahead. You're good.
If you had to put a number on it and take a guess right now, how many turnovers did the Jets defense force last year?
I actually think I do know this number. It's 11.
Close. It was at 14. Either one sucks, right? I mean, but yeah, Either one is way too damn low.
Yeah, I remember in a video I made, it was a couple of months back, and I looked at it and I said to myself, it's less than one a game. It's not enough. We
Yeah,
have to have games where we create two or three in one game. You have to have games like that where the ball just seems to be in the defensive player's hands. Like you just have to create those big plays on defense. So we've talked a lot about offense this offseason. And I want to get play. I want playmakers on defense. I think we talk a lot about Zach Wilson. Here's another closing argument. Zach Wilson, whatever we do on draft weekend, we could surround him with the best players. If he sucks, he's gonna suck no matter who's around him. I think that's like still a fact. Like even if we put like really good football players in, that's gonna help him regardless
yeah,
of
yeah.
what level he is. But he's got to take another step forward. This is
Yep.
all for naught. Like Jake Asman said it best. He says if he doesn't take that step forward, none of this really matters. And it's so true. Zach Wilson has 100% has pressure on him this year. I don't care what you say. He's got to take that step forward. And, you know, I think that along with that, if we can get our defense to create these plays, that's when you're going to start to see some of this. Like, here's the thing: we still haven't seen the pendulum swing back. It's still stuck on the other side. We want it to start to swing the other direction. It's been a
Yep.
lot of losing football for over a decade now, and we're just not used to seeing it go the other way. And we need to start seeing that go that way. So, all right, closing arguments are done. Um, let's go to the final mock draft because that's what. Whoops, that's very ugly looking. Hold on a second here. Why does it look
Final
like?
mock draft. It's getting real, John. It's getting
I,
real.
I
I'm
know.
like starting to get some butterflies here.
Yeah, dude. I can't wait till tomorrow night. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And definitely that nervous energy is gonna be there when the draft is kicking off, because it's seriously is just like anything can happen. Sauce shut down Sack City. Good point to make. If the back end's better, maybe it helps the pass rush, and then the pass rush the same thing. If they can get home, it's gonna help the back end as well. This is an interesting comment, Joe Nelson. I'll read this one and then I'll move forward. He says, we need a player to get in that 10 to 15 sack range.
Hmm.
And honestly, that's not a crazy thing to say. And I get it. Sacks are not the only statistic you need, but sacks also help. And also having a guy in that range probably means that he is getting to the quarterback consistently, not necessarily just sacks, like hitting him, knockdowns, pressures, those things. So I tend to agree with you, Joe Nelson. We need a guy to get going with the pass rush. Whether that's Carl Lawson, whether that's Quinnen Williams, or a drafted player, we need somebody to break out. And I think about the Chiefs, their draft class, this recent class. They drafted that Trey Smith kid in the 6th round, and he was an absolute monster for them, along
And
with
Creed
and
Humphrey.
Creed.
Yeah.
Exactly, yes, Creed Humphrey, yet another stud that they drafted in the mid rounds. Dude, listen, 15 sacks. We're not expecting 15 sacks, but he's
No, no.
saying we need a threat. He's saying we need a bona fide pass rushing threat. All right, let's go to our final mock draft, and I'm going to go ahead and switch scenes right now so that we are all set up for that. And let's see here. Steve Love, thanks for joining us. He says Lawson, Quinnen Williams, Kayvon Thibodeau will have at least 10 each. Ooh, my lord. Sack exchange type of stuff. I don't know about all that, but holy cow, if that were the case, man, we are cooking. We are cooking. I don't know if I can go with you that aggressively, Steve. But listen, man, if you're right and I'm wrong, let's do it, man. I'm fine with that. Sorry, guys. I have to screw with my screen here because I had it pinched for the number for the drawing. So I'm gonna have to take a second here. Um, we will incorporate you guys. We've been doing that all off season with the mock drafts. So when we are on the clock, and we are already on the clock right now, we will ask you guys what your thoughts are. You can throw it in the comments of the stream, and we're going to do this final mock draft, the final exercise of the 2022 NFL Draft pre-draft process. So we are on the clock, and Aiden Stephen Engel says trade out. Stephen Engel says trade out, but Aiden Hutchinson is gone. Kayvon Thibodeau is gone, and Evan Neal is also drafted as well. So that leaves us with this scenario of Ikem Ekwonu, Trayvon Walker is available, Ahmad Gardner is available, and then we've got any wide receiver available as well. I would go ahead and safely say that it's probably between Ikem, Ahmad, Sauce Gardner, Walker, and who else? Maybe Stingley, I guess. Jermaine Johnson, I guess we could throw in the mix.
Yeah, throw me in Jermaine Johnson.
Okay, so Vern says it's Walker. It's a no-brainer. Robbie Oak says I'd trade back to Sauce. We all love Sauce, I think, in some certain
Yeah,
way.
for sure.
Matt Baum says go with JJ. Frank says Sauce. Steve Love says Sauce, Jameson, or trade out. HD says let's get JJ. So there's a lot of JJ in the chat right now, actually, and some Sauce love as well. Ekwonu and Walker. So we're going to do those four.
Yep.
And I'm going to do my best right now, guys, to get to the channel here. And I should have already done this. My apologies. So let me get to the stream here so I can create a poll. Look at how unprepared I am for this. All right. All right, we're back to this. So I'm going to create a poll, and the poll that was currently running says, which player will the Jets select at number 4 overall, not the player that you want. 48% of the votes said Kayvon Thibodeau with 235 votes casted. So that's quite a bit of love for Kayvon. All right, let's go ahead and let's say Sauce. Let's say JJ, Walker, and what was the other name? Ekwonu?
Yep.
And I think that's fair. One of those names will probably be the pick for the New York Jets. So let's go to you, James, while people are voting. And by the way, guys, the poll is up. What would you do? Why would you do it? I think I know what you do, but you can give me your last thoughts on this as well.
Yeah, I'd be between Ahmad Gardner and Jermaine Johnson. But ultimately, I'm gonna go with Jermaine Johnson here, and I know that's something that I bang the table for Ahmad Gardner, and I would, no matter what. Just the more I keep looking into it and looking into it, positional wise, they can actually get, if edge is the first pick in the draft for them, I think it unlocks a whole other ton of possibilities for them. And I went back to JJ. I went back, and I'm going to trust my eyes. I saw a player that could be dominant at the next level. I'm going to choose to be ignorant to the percentages and analytics that I saw, and just for one time, just trust my eyes. And my eyes tell me that he's going to be an impactful player in the NFL. I know the age is a concern for some people, but I'm going to go with Jermaine Johnson here as the pick, as long as Kayvon Thibodeau is off the board.
And he is the vote getter right now. So if you guys do not like JJ at 4, you better cast your votes and swing the polls here a little bit. JJ is at a comfortable lead at 45% of the votes. So fun fact, James, I did a little digging, and I listened to the Oklahoma podcast before tonight's episode, and I heard you do that about JJ. So I had a feeling that was coming, actually.
Yeah.
So that's what you would think that they should do, and that's what you think they will do in this scenario.
Yeah, I think I am moving a lot closer towards this pick is going to be someone on the line, on the offensive line or defensive line, and I just think Jermaine Johnson, he embodies what they're looking for as well. In a player, he's 110 miles per hour all the time, every snap, every play, and so I think not only does the impact plays get them to where they need to be, but I could see Salah being like, I could do a whole bunch of things with this guy if that's the kind of effort he's going to give me on Sundays.
All right, that's crazy and good stuff by you, by the way. Um, let's see here. So personally, I like the idea of just nabbing Sauce Gardner. I still think there's an outside chance that you're going to get a good pass rusher to be available when you're on the clock at 10, and you could potentially swing up a little bit. Maybe you could pull up into the top 10 with maybe the Falcons leapfrogging the Seahawks to land an edge rusher. I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't know how many edge rushers are going to go after the New York Jets. The Giants, I think, could take one, right? Like we both agree that they might take one, but we didn't. Either one of us didn't take an edge after pick number 4. Neither one of us in our mock draft. So I think there's more flexibility than people realize. A lot of people keep saying if you don't take your edge at 4, you're probably not going to get one at 10. I think that's hogwash. I think there's a chance, a really good chance that you're going to still be able to get one of your guys. The question is do the Jets feel comfortable doing that? So what are the Jets going to do in this circumstance? I think they're going to take a Kemaquanu. I'm going to stay firm on that. What would I do? I would still take Sauce Gardner at 4. And I still think JJ could be there. I don't think the Falcons will take an edge. I don't think the Panthers are going to take an edge. The only team that really seems like a threat right now is the New York Giants. But they need offensive line help, and they may take Sauce Gardner if he's available. They could take Kyle Hamilton if Sauce isn't available. That could make sense as well. So right now the vote is clear. It is JJ 40% to Sauce's 32%. So it's a little bit closer. I'm going to say maybe another 60 seconds here. JJ at 10. Jet Psychic says Sauce has no equal. Hall of Famer.
Wow.
I tend to agree that this is like the risk that I would be willing to take. Go get your shutdown cornerback, because this is how you're going to start making big plays, is having a guy that can match up with some of these wide receivers. And then you go get your edge rusher. And again, I would like to double dip. If we're going to do this, if we're going to take Sauce early, go get 2 edge rushers fairly early in the NFL draft. So that's another reason why I'm okay with Sauce at 4, because I would be willing to string a couple of picks in a row here, taking edge rushers. Maybe take one at 10 and then even take one at maybe 38 or 69. Double dipping and getting maybe an Arnold Ebiketie. There's a bunch of names out there. My guy's Cam Thomas. I love Cameron Thomas. You could throw him into the rotation of picks. It appears that I've swung the polls, which is pretty cool. Sauce is in the lead. He's the number 1 vote getter right now. So 40% of the votes to 36% of JJ. There's 120 of you. First of all, if you haven't hit the like button, go ahead and hit it. We haven't gotten 100 likes yet. And damn it, that's my expectation, is we get 100 likes or I rebel against you all. Second thing, vote. There's only been about 45 votes casted, and there's a bunch of you in here. Just go to the poll. It's on the YouTube screen that you're looking at right now.
Also, I am going to be. I would be very happy if Sauce is the pick. I don't want to make it
Oh
seem
yeah.
like I'm going off the Sauce because all of a sudden
No.
I saw something that I think he sucks. I just think I'm starting to see it clearly, and I think what I'm seeing edges the unlock at 4. But listen, if Roger Goodell gets up there and he says Ahmad Sauce Gardner, I'll be jumping out of my seat. That's for sure.
Yep. All right, so I think 60 seconds has passed. Sauce Gardner is the vote getter, 40% to 36. So for this final mock draft, and listen, Ian from Jets Central, he made a video recently. He was talking about all of the people predicting Sauce to the Jets at 4. A lot of, notable people. I think Daniel Jeremiah talked a lot about him being, a potential fit for the Jets at 4. So it's not, I know a lot of people don't want a cornerback at 4, but it's not insane stuff that we're suggesting here. I love the pick. And so Sauce is a New York Jet in our final mock draft, which makes me smile. I love it. I think I would just be so happy, man. And I think that people are sleeping on how humble this kid is. He is the perfect, like you talk about like the characters that they're trying to put into the building. And somebody in the comments of one of my videos talked about how Sauce he's the perfect example of having swagger, but being humble. And some people seem to think that, KT needs a lesson in that, like having being humble. I love the way he talks. I love the kind of person that he'd be in the building, the leader that he would eventually become. We got some people who don't like the pick. Too bad. It was the vote getter, man. What am I supposed to do? Not take him? I can't do that. But you can boo the pick. It's okay. It's draft weekend. You can boo whoever you want. Rich Eisen is a sauce champ. If you didn't know that,
He is, yeah. I saw
he's
that
been
today.
he's not banging on the table. He's standing on it and he's jumping up and down on the table for Sauce Gardner. And I like where his head's at, to be honest with you. Grant Rude, he says JJ at 10. And by the way, folks, the scenario has played out. No edge other than Trayvon Walker went
Mhm.
after pick 5 or after pick 4, excuse me. I feel like it's a no-brainer. And I get people are going to really be upset, but maybe we could go ahead and do what you talked about, James, trading up into a range where we think a wide receiver will be available. Drake London is still available.
Mhm.
Let's take a look. Jamison Williams is still available. Chris Olave is still available. Traylon Burks is still available. Do we want to, and I'll just ask the chat and I'll ask you, do we want to go ahead and execute a trade? Because if we make this pick, we will not have that opportunity. What would you do, James? Would you be willing to trade up if we don't draft an edge here? Like if we decide to take JJ because
Mhm.
he's available right now, would you be willing to plan? Sorry, would you be willing to go ahead and make the move right now to jump up for a wide receiver? Vern says he likes London in the spot. What do you say, James?
I would go. I mean, obviously, I would have. My Jermaine Johnson pick at 4 is still there at 10. So that's a pretty strong option for me there. But if we were to go, so you're saying if we were to go a
I'm only
wide
saying
receiver here or
no,
an
no.
edge here?
I'm sorry, I was confusing you. So if we
No, it's all
decide to
right.
go JJ, which I think that's probably going to be the one
I
that we
gotcha.
do because it was the second vote getter in the first poll, and it's
Gotcha.
kind of silly to run another poll when we didn't. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, the point
Yeah.
being, if we take JJ at 10, do we
Hmm.
want to play out the scenario where we trade up for a wide receiver, or do we just
Oh,
want to
okay, I
let it?
gotcha.
Because if we hit the pick, if we pick Jermaine Johnson, the board's just going to fly. It's not going to stop for us to make a trade. So we kind of have to plan ahead and try to jump into a spot now before we make our next pick.
I would let the board run.
Okay. Um, these chat mocks make me sick every time. It's just for fun. Don't worry. It's not real. This isn't the real deal. Um, and there are a lot of people, and again, I talk about this a lot, but there are a lot of people in the comments of videos that talk about this. They want to see us go wait to wide receiver until round 2. I have a ton of people talking about that. I even have some people saying, let's not take a wide receiver in the first 2 rounds, which I don't agree with, but let's go ahead and let's take a look at the recent comments. Jim V says, yes, trade up into the 18 to 20 range for a wide receiver. HD Marino says, yeah, trade up, but do it for Olave. We didn't take Aquanu. Don't you worry, buddy. We took Mr. Sauce Gardner. And that's not a boring pick. That's an exciting pick.
Very much
Um,
so.
I think so. Go JJ at 10 or Williams is what Frank wants to do. Um,
I think we make JJ the pick at 10 here for
I
sure.
think we're definitely going to do that. So I guess let me do this. Let's do a poll for
Is
trade
there
up. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
is there a way to see like what we would have like what someone would accept to get us maybe I don't know to like because if people want a Olave, I'm probably thinking we're going to need to be somewhere closer to like 16 or something like that, 16, 17, 18. Is there a way to see what it would cost us to get there now?
Yes. Don't trade up for a. I'm going to post this poll now, and we can play with that while people are voting. We are gonna take JJ. We're not polling that. We're JJ is the pick at number 10. But what we're gonna try to figure out right now is are we gonna make a move now to go trade up for a wide receiver? Because if I hit the button right now to take JJ, the board's just gonna fly because I have it on fast mode. So JJ will be the pick at number 10. So if you're wondering, that's who the pick is. We now have Sauce Gardner. We now have JJ. We have a cornerback with elite status, ability, and potential. The new poll is up, trading up for a wide receiver from 35 or just sitting tight and letting the board fall to us. Be interested to see what people vote for. Let's go ahead and let's play with it. So in the event that we want to trade up, we would probably need to trade up, like you said, in that, what, 18 to 20 range. The
Yeah,
problem
if
the
for a
problem
while.
is I don't think the Eagles are going to want to trade back from their spot because they've already got a bevy of picks.
Hmm.
And the Saints are already picking in 16 and 19. I don't think they're going to want to trade back either. So this is where it becomes kind of a logjam. Like you're either going to have to jump way high or you're going to have to kind of jump up into that late first round conversation. Maybe the Titans would be willing to move back from 26, but at that point, are you even getting up high enough?
Right.
And Green Bay has 2 first round picks. They feel like a lock to make those picks. I don't see them, trading back here. I don't know if there's something wrong with my poll, but nobody has voted. Vote for the trade up or the not trade up, guys. What do you want the Jets to do? Trade up or to not trade up here? Someone says, I think you can make the trade now for a pick later in the first round. That's what we're supposed to be voting on, although maybe the poll is not even running. Although I did hit it to go. Let me see if I can fix this. Let's run another poll here. Trade up. Okay, here we go. Let's try that one more time. Poll is
People said
up.
they voted.
Oh, that's weird. I wasn't getting any of the data. Try it one more time. If it doesn't work, then maybe the polls aren't working, which would be weird. That would be the first time it's ever happened that way. Let's take a look at what people say. It won't let me vote. Huh. Okay, so the polls are broken on YouTube. That's strange. All right, so I'm not getting any of the data, guys. It looks like most people are saying don't trade.
It does look like that.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and let's just do that. We're going to go ahead and we're going to stick and pick. And for the sake of the mock draft, I do like it when we don't trade. I know that a lot of other channels, they get crazy with the trades. I really do prefer to just kind of stick and pick because
Yeah.
it's unlikely that you're moving around a whole lot anyway. Big Al pointed out that Cardinals and the Dallas Cowboys both could be wanting to select a wide receiver. Or I'm sorry, he's saying the Cardinals need to get in front of Dallas, who will be taking a wide receiver. I don't know. Dallas is going to be an interesting spot. I don't know if they're a lock for a wide receiver, even though they got rid of Amari Cooper. All right, Jermaine Johnson's the pick at number 10, y'all. And here is the Jets draft class so far. We've got Ahmad Gardner. We've got Jermaine Johnson. I'm fist pumping. And I'm not
Yeah,
worried
it's a good.
about
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about wide receiver at this point because I still think that they would be a candidate to trade up, even though we didn't do it in this mock draft. And you can see maybe the reason why trading up would be potentially the right move here. We do not have the opportunity to select most of the players that I like. Let's take a look at who's gone receiver wise. Jahan Dotson went to the Chiefs. That makes a lot of sense. Traylon Burks to the Packers makes a ton of sense. Jamison Williams to the Chargers. Jesus. Chris Olave, Drake London. Oh, wow. Look at that. 3 wide receivers all in a row.
Yep.
So in this scenario, maybe the Ravens, if you're going to go up and truly get the guy you really want, you probably might even need to get up beyond them because they might want a wide receiver. I don't know. I think wide receiver is going to be a hot button topic in this first round. I think it's going to be like 6 or 7 that go in the first round. So let's take a
Travis
look at
Jones.
let's take a look at the big board here. So David Ajabo is available. Boye Mafe is available. Arnold Ebiketie is available. Jalen Pitre, your guy, is available. No, Logan Hall, Andrew Golden's guy. George Pickens is available. I like Christian Watson here, actually. I think he might even be one of the better wide receiver. If you're trying to take a swing at a guy, I think he's a great swing pick. I think a lot of people like George Pickens as well, though.
They do.
What's your overall feeling right now on what you would be looking for here? Because Logan Hall's sitting there. We need a defensive lineman, and I know you feel strongly about that.
Yep.
Christian Harris is available. What do you think?
Yeah. So on 35 and 38 here, Travis Jones is gone and Lewis Seen's gone. While you were going through the picks, I was like, oh my god, I think Lewis Seen fell to 35. But one pick we missed him, so I would go a combination of um, Logan Hall to fill up that interior defensive line. Travis Jones is gone. He would be my preferred pick, but after talking with Andrew, I would not mind if he is the pick there in the second round, and we make that selection. And then I would go wide receiver, um, and I would be between George Pickens and Sky Moore. I think
Mm.
Sky Moore offers quite a bit for this offense there, and I think you look at guys that you don't want to call them matchup proof, but when they are more savvy in their route running, they have the ability to be more successful earlier on. George Pickens really intrigues me just because of the athletic ability, the ability to go up and get the football, but also be the downfield threat. If he did not tear his ACL a couple of springs ago, he'd probably be. He only played 4 games, I think, for Georgia this past year. We probably wouldn't have a chance at him at 35. I think he's probably that talented. Um, and he also didn't have a very great quarterback situation. I know they won the national championship, but you could do probably a whole lot better than Stetson Bennett. No shade there, but I would go combination here of I'll just pick a wide receiver. I'll go Logan Hall, and I'll take the chance on George Pickens.
Okay. I did repost the poll again, and again, I'm not sure if it's working or not, guys. You can try to cast your votes, and I guess I'll see if it's working. The votes, I just went position wise, guys. I said defensive tackle, edge, wide receiver, or linebacker, and then James and I can kind of make a choice after that. George Pickens is the only right answer here. Madden Mobile tips. Grant Root says at least one of Pickens or more should be there at 38. Secure the hole at 35. And that's a good way to look at it. That there's two receivers that you like. Very likely that one of them would be there. So we'll definitely take a wide receiver at 35 or 38. And it probably makes, like you said, Grant, more sense to take one at 38. I don't know what's going on with my poll. It is not working, which really sucks for the last mock draft. I can't get your guys' opinion other than just reading the comments, but that can work too. Let's see here. Wide receiver wise, somebody said let's look at the wide receivers. There you go. I'm leaning towards the let's take a look. Actually, offensive line. I didn't look at that at all. Tyler Smith is available. Bernhard. Is it Bernhard or Bernard?
Maybe it's Bernard. I think.
Bernhard. Bernhard would be a pretty funny name, wouldn't it? Okay, so I took the poll down, and apparently you guys can see the poll, but I can't, which is so weird. Like really strange stuff. I'll have
Yeah,
to. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. All right. What do you think here? I'll let you make the pick since our polls aren't really working. You said you wanted that Logan Hall feller.
Yeah, I would go with Logan Hall here at 35 to secure him up, because I think well, some of the other guys. I mean, sure, Perion Winfrey, but I really got kind of roped into the Logan Hall aspect last night, so I'm pretty intrigued by what he could do for us.
Okay, and most people have mentioned Pickens as the pick. We're going to go ahead and take Pickens at 38 if he's available. Hopefully he is. Logan Hall is the draft pick at 35. And we will have the opportunity at 38 as well to select a wide receiver.
Nice.
We're going to take our wide receiver, Dele. Don't you worry. I'm going to do one more try with this freaking poll. And if it doesn't work, I'm throwing this computer in the window, out the window. We're going to do Watson. We're going to do Moore. And we're going to do Pickens here. I definitely feel like a wide receiver should be a lock in this point. with what we've selected so far. And here are our selections. It's been three defensive players in a row: Ahmad Gardner, Jermaine Johnson, and Logan Hall. I feel really good about the idea that we are going to be very, very strong on the front line, and also going to be able to make some more plays on the back end of the defense. Again, guys, I cannot see the poll results. Maybe James, can you see them?
No, I can't see them.
Okay, so if you guys are there, I'm gonna have to just trust what you say, which really sucks because I feel like this is kind of silly. Let me reboot the poll. Hold on a second. Let me pull it out. Pop out chat. Nope, I can't see it. Poll does not show for me, which is so really weird. It's a YouTube issue, obviously, because it doesn't make any sense. We've done this a million times. How about them Jets? He says, let's go ahead and take Pickens. No safety yet. Not yet. We've invested heavily in our front line of our defense. Jaquan Brisker is certainly tempting at 38. Funny, this poll says JJ at 4. What? We're going to have to stop the polls, guys, and I do apologize, but there's not working. And hopefully you understand that I've been doing these polls since literally the beginning of the off season, and it's never functioned this way. It's just not working. That's right. The panel's going to have to pull it out. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a pick because you selected Logan Hall here. And I'm going to go ahead and say that the New York Jets are going to go ahead and select this George Pickens feller. The ceiling's really high, and I personally would actually go with Christian Watson. I think that there's a lot of intrigue there. But I think George Pickens, the super high upside, he got hurt, and I think it was his freshman year, so he's like the Derek Stingley of the wide receiver group. Just really, really high upside. Yeah, dude, I'm bummed about it. The poll not working is a bummer. So anyway, we're going to move forward, and we're going to go with some George Pickens here. Again, I feel like 4 players in a row here. These are some explosive players, and I feel really, really good about who we've gotten so far at this point in the draft. So let's go through here, and let's take a peek. Arnold Ebiketie goes 40. David Ajabo goes 43. Sky Moore, 44. Jalen Pitre to the Vikings. That's a hell of a pick. Christian Watson to the Bears. They give Justin Fields a little bit of help. My guy, Cameron Thomas to the Eagles. God, the Eagles are loaded with capital. It's crazy. They traded away a first-round pick, and they still have 3 picks in the top 51. Wild. Perion Winfrey to the Packers. Christian Harris to the Patriots. Somebody was talking to me about Tariq Woolen as a cornerback sleeper and really wanting him as well. Jaquan Brisker goes all the way to 61. And there you have it. We are back on the clock at pick 69. And we're going to just take a quick look through the best players available here. So if you're joining us right now, that's what we're going to take a peek at. Breece Hall, book it. I guess at 69, it starts to enter the conversation, right? Even though we really don't want a running back, maybe having the best one available at the 69th pick, it might be too good to pass up. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's I understand it. I'm looking at some names though.
Yeah, we can skim through here. We have not taken a
Yeah,
linebacker. Quay Walker is a name that I've heard could go in the first round, and he's
yeah,
sitting
that's
here
I
right
did
now.
hear that.
So Quay Walker, Chad Muma is available. Anegbari of South Carolina was a name we talked about earlier in the offseason. We could use some offensive line help. I know that. I know
Yeah, I like I
linebacker is
like
going to be a.
Abraham Lucas. Yeah.
Yep, Lucas. Rasheed Walker's a guy I like. This might be a little early for Walker, though. Sean Ryan of UCLA. That could be a nice pick on the interior, although I think offensive tackle is a bigger need. We're probably not going to go. We're not going to go defensive line. We've loaded up there pretty good.
Yeah, no, we're fine along the defensive line.
Yeah, not taking a tight end, even though Trey McBride in the 3rd round might be really hard to pass up. All right, so we're looking at probably an offensive tackle or one of those linebackers. Is there any other position? Oh, I guess Brees Hall as well. And yeah, everybody in the chat saying Brees Hall all day. Joe Nelson says Hall. Dele says Hall. You know what? I might just have to do it because this stupid poll thing isn't working. Steven Engel says F the positional value. He says just take the stud players. If we had taken a linebacker already, I'd say go for Hall, but we need linebacker for sure here. And I would agree that linebacker to me is a little bit more intriguing. But dude, I'm telling you, everybody's saying Hall in the chat right now. It's a lot of people saying go ahead and just take a big swing. The only problem then is like, let's just go ahead and let's play the game. Hall versus Carter. Who's getting the bulk of the work?
Carter, yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, Carter is going to get a ton of work, but it's not like the old days anymore. And I think there's only just a couple of Jonathan Taylors, Derrick Henrys of the world. So I can absolutely understand it in terms of taking a swing. I think he's an excellent running back. He was Iowa State, that's for sure. So Brees Hall. I can get on board with it given the fact that it's pick 69 here, and it's an offensive weapon. So I can get on board. Some other names. The Abraham Lucas one is interesting. He could definitely provide some offensive tackle depth, and potentially, hey, you never know, maybe take over at some point if things don't work out with Fant. He's an excellent pass blocker. For Washington State. A little light, but I think ultimately with his technique and he does have some power to him. So he actually had a pretty good matchup with Kayvon Thibodeau, so that was pretty interesting. And then the linebacker here for me would be Chad, just a guy who he embodies culture-wise what we're trying to do, and he gets around that football just as much as anyone in the country really does. So he would be up there for me, Chad. But if we go Brees, I can get behind it.
Yeah, if it were me making the picks, I would still take the linebacker. That would be what I would do. I would take Quay Walker or Chad Muma. You might even be able to make the case that Troy Anderson probably would also be a really good pick as well. Some people think he's going to go super early, second round range. Yeah, this is a tough one actually. This is probably the toughest pick so far. And I kind of agree. I think that Brees Hall, if we took him at, in the third round, probably, damn, that's a hell of a back pairing right there. That's a lot of juice. Yeah. That's what Salas said when they picked Michael Carter. They said they thought he brought a lot of juice to the offense. That's some explosive, those are some explosive players. But again, I just like the linebackers a little bit more. I think that you got to take those. Stephen Engel says, take Hall, don't overthink it. Take the stud playmakers. You can take stud playmakers at more than one position. And I hear what you're saying, though. You want to score some points. You want to help Zach Wilson. Dennis Montalvo, he says, absolutely. He says that this draft's showing how much we need. How much need we need.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, Stephen Engel. He would help. And that's the other thing is like, if we go Ikem Ekwonu at pick 4, which I will not like, I feel like we would need to turn into the San Francisco 49ers, but in the East Coast. They had the second fewest passing attempts. And I didn't know this until I researched it. They had the second fewest passing attempts in the NFL last year. Yep. They did not throw the football a lot. And if we draft Ikem Ekwonu and we even if we took a running back here at third round, we better be pounding the football. Less throwing, lots of throwing. I know a lot of people want that. Jake is agreeing with you. He's saying, preach, Engel, preach. We need 4 starters from this draft. Facts. Let's go ahead. Let's make some people happy. We have not taken a running back this early in any of our mock drafts. Let's just go ahead and let's get crazy. Let's see what the draft looks like. We legitimately have never taken one in the third round or earlier. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to make Brees Hall a New York Jet, which, again, I'm not saying that this is what I want them to do because I still want Zach Wilson to become the man. But if we end up doing one of those two things, like Kim Ekwonu at 4 or Brees Hall in the third or second round, we better be running the football a lot to validate those picks. Because that's what Akem's known for, right? He's all about the run blocking game.
Yeah, he's nasty.
Yes. Holy cow, look at this. Trey McBride is still available in the 4th round. How is that possible?
Yeah.
This is one of the weirdest mock drafts we've ever done. I cannot believe he's still available. So's Troy Anderson, by the way. So if we want to get our linebacker now after taking Brees Hall, that's a sweet back-to-back pick scenario, if you ask me. Backing it up with the linebacker that I think offers potentially the biggest ceiling. I think that highly of Troy Anderson. He's a freak of nature. He kind of reminds me of Brian Urlacher in the regards to the size and the speed. We're going to go through some of these picks here. Let me go back to pick 69. Looks like a bunch of offensive linemen have gone. Kobe Bryant went. Sam Williams, the edge. Cole Strange, that's another player we could have definitely considered there. Sky Pilot, dude, we agree with you completely. We both, James and I, were ready to take a linebacker over a running back, but we're trying to make some of the people happy here. Trying to spread the wealth and also trying to test out different scenarios too. That's what these mocks are about. Alec Pierce goes in the 3rd round to the Steelers. Alontae Taylor, a guy you've talked a lot about, James, 83.
Yep.
Channing Tindall, Isaiah Likely.
Wow.
I think he's the first tight end off the board there to the Packers. That makes sense. That the Packers feel like a good landing spot for a tight end. They had that tight end go down with the injury. Cade Otton goes before. Wow. So is McBride?
Weird, yeah.
Is McBride slipping? Is that something that you've heard about?
No, not that I've seen. I mean, they have him ranked number 50 on the mock drafting. So unless it's just like throwing out a pre-24 hour crazy type of situation. But yeah, I mean, at 111, I can't see him sitting at 111.
Steven Engel's already ripping. He's like, get McBride. He says, don't screw around. Don't ask any questions. There's a couple of tight ends available. Jeremy Rucker, Greg Dulcich, I like a lot. So I don't know if it has to be McBride, although I know he was all the crush we had. Asamoah, the pass rusher, Brian Asamoah. Or I guess he's not. He's a linebacker. My apologies.
Yeah,
Let's take
from Oklahoma. He's a smaller kind of version of a linebacker. So kind of in the sense that the Jets like, but
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just gonna say this is the name I would keep my eyes out for is Jelani Woods. I think that would be an interesting little pick. HD Marino agrees with me. I feel like this is Troy Anderson territory. I feel like I had him in my 4th round in my final mock draft.
Yep. I'd go Anderson. We pick again at 117, and that's where I'd hope Jelani Woods is still there.
Yeah, and I take a tight end. This is the weirdest. I said it earlier, not having the poll definitely throws a wrench in this, but this is seriously one of the more weird mocks we've done. Dulcich is a vote here. I agree that Troy Anderson is like a no-brainer. Tight end from Virginia. I think we're going to do that in the next pick. Let's go ahead and let's do it. Let's do our linebacker because a lot of people wanted a linebacker at 69. And again, the best available is certainly Troy Anderson, although some people have mentioned Asamoah. I think Grant Rude mentioned him. And let's read his comment to be at least respectful. He says, is an amazing coverage linebacker, a QB spy with instincts and speed, and is a sure tackler. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll have to watch him tonight after the show a little bit more. I haven't given him enough attention, but for the time being, we're going to take Troy Anderson. No disrespect, Grant Rude. I'm going to look him up after this. So let's see what happened. Wow. Look at that. Look at that, though. Asamoah went right after. I will have to look into it, Grant. I will definitely check him out. Too much of a project, and I will agree with that part. So he is only a 2-year starter at linebacker. But again, the measurables are crazy, and he's very, very smart. and I think I mentioned it in our last stream. Valedictorian of his high school class. So this is a very, very smart guy. So I think he's going to be a really good leader for this defense in the long run and a playmaker. So tight end wise, I think it's pretty good still. The class is super rich. You might even be able to convince me we wait till round 5, but we will take a look at our full draft so far. It's been very defensive heavy. 4 defensive players to only 2 offensive players. And so, yeah, that's where we're at right now. And let's go back. We are on the clock. The tight ends are Rich Dulcich, Jeremy Ruckert, Jelani Woods are available. Wide receiver wise, I don't know if we're double dipping at this point because we did not take Jamison Williams. Offensive tackle is a big need, and actually Max Mitchell is a name that I did have on my notes. Do you have anything that you know about Max Mitchell, James, offhand? I know that's kind of a big ask at this point in the draft.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything on Max Mitchell there. Who
Okay.
else? Do we have anything else at offensive? Did we hit offensive line yet or no?
No, we have not. We have not. And that's why I feel like this is probably the weakest mock with the running back. And I know that's going to make people upset, but I feel like you got to get your offensive line, the backups in these picks. That's why I don't like taking a running back in the 3rd round. I really am more comfortable with taking a running back in the 5th round. Let's take a look at what people are saying here. Who the F is Max Mitchell?
I've seen the
uh,
name before. I just I don't know really much about him at all.
yeah, no, that's okay. And he from what I've read is a very decent prospect. I don't know a whole lot about him. I would have to go back to my notes, but he could be a good fit for the Jets. Grant Root says, oof, too many of my faves in there. I'm good with the top 3. Dulcich probably has the most upside.
Also, we're at
Woods.
pick 117, so it's you are looking like if there is a project, if they like you, that's where you're looking for the upside, right? The guys with the high upside, the high floor, they may not be ready right away. And listen, if you strike gold at 117 with a player who just happens to be perfect, there's probably a low likelihood of that. You're taking guys that are high upside, high athletic traits, physical traits. They, the characters there, and you think that there's a certain part of his game that the coaching staffs can one tap into to make better, but there may be a piece of their game that they need to get really better at. That the coaching staff feels like he has the traits that I can coach him to be what we want him to be. So that's my one aspect with the draft is when you get later on, it ain't always going to be perfect. These guys all have their flaws, and you look for that high upside. That's why a name like Jelani Woods is so interesting at this point in time. 6'7", the athletic score through the roof. I actually think he might be the highest RAS score ever for a tight end.
Yikes, that's crazy.
So stuff like that, and that's why I think JD and JD's shown us right now is he's willing to take the Hamza Nasruddin, the Jamie and Sherwoods that were safety and turn them into linebackers. The Troy Anderson that might not have all that much experience at linebacker, but the versatility is through the roof. The sub packages that he can put, he can play in. Also, I think a lot of that stuff is a factor in all of this.
Verone McKinley is a name that people are talking about right now. He is a playmaker. He has made a lot of plays in his career. We talked about Jalen Pitre earlier as a playmaker in his last year. Verone McKinley did a lot of that at Oregon. I actually am leaning towards the safety or the offensive tackle right now and waiting on the tight end. I know there's a couple of names there we feel really good about, and there might not be one at pick 146 with the 3 that are there. Greg Dulcich, Jeremy Ruckert, and Jelani Woods. All 3 of them feel like they'll probably be off the board by the time we pick again.
Mm-hmm.
You and I have talked a lot about the safety spot. I think that's a pretty big need.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead. Let's take Verone McKinley. I think that's the name I've seen in the chat And HD Marino's asking about safety. Vern saying McKinley. And I've seen his name a couple of times. So let's do that. Let's go crazy here. Let's take some players that we have never taken in any of our mocks. We're going to go with
Yeah.
Verone McKinley right now.
Okay.
So he is a New York Jet. Another defensive player. That's 5-2 now on the defensive side. Let's take a look at the tight ends. Oh, I told you they weren't going to make it.
Charlie Kolar is not a bad consolation prize if we want a tight end.
He was in my final mock draft. Charlie Kolar would be a great tight end 3, a developmental guy with some serious traits. And I kind of agree. I like Charlie Kolar in this round and in this range. Let's look at all the players, though. Rashad White, we're not taking another running back. That's why I don't like this. The running backs are here, guys. Look at this. Tyler Algier, Rashad
Jerome
White.
Ford.
Yeah, who else? Jerome Ford, yeah.
Ford, Zamir White.
Zamir White. Hassan Haskins is available as well. So, yeah, this is why you don't do that. Bad boys and bad girls if you wanted that running back in the 3rd round. How dare you? All right, all kidding aside, let's take a look at some more players. We have not taken an offensive lineman. That is going to be a serious problem. That's going to be an issue. Just saying. Let's go ahead and let's take a tight end. I think that's probably the best available that is not a running back. Yeah, we're going to take a tight end. I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to take Kolar cool. At this spot here. I feel like you're getting a guy that's going to be really, really good in the receiving game. He needs to work on dropping his hips, lowering his butt, and engaging in his blocks a little bit better. He's a little bit tall in his blocking. And I like Woods now. Woods is not available. Woods went much earlier. He went between the 4th and the 5th round. Dude, listen.
Yeah. We're beyond that. We're hoping for a post-June cut at this point there, Grant.
Yeah, no. In this mock draft, total epic fail. That's, again, I'm not a fan of this mock. This is not one of our better ones. And we'll recap it real here. Ahmad Gardner, Jermaine Johnson, Logan Hall, George Pickens, Breece Hall, Troy Anderson. Actually, you know what? I'll take it back. I like the players we're taking. I just don't know we can. I don't know if we can get away with having not taken a tackle until the last pick of the draft. That's crazy sauce. Let's take a look at the offensive line. There's no way we can not do that, right?
That happened. It happened to us last night when we did the mock. When I did it with Andrew and Matt, we didn't end up with either an offensive tackle or a tight end. We walked out of the draft without, and we still loved the class because we kept saying to ourselves, like, you know, hey, can someone make an argument for me for a tight end? Can someone make an argument for me for, you know, a linebacker at, you know, 69? And so it was like, it's not falling that way. Let's not just take someone just because, you know, and so sometimes it works that way. So it worked that way for us last night. We walked away. We're like, yeah, maybe we want to take a tight end if one's available. But if this is the way the board's going to be, you play the board. So I think it's a good class, and we shouldn't really shy away just because you know, one of the picks didn't work out. We got good value at every spot. Ultimately, maybe running back, not much value there. That kind of messed us up just a little bit. But yeah. So I don't know who we're gonna grab here. I would see maybe if we got best player available for some value.
Some people actually have mentioned Waletzko from North Dakota. That's been the only name I've seen so far in the chat. Vern mentioned him. Stephen Engel mentioned him. Grant Reed wants to know if there's any long snappers available. For the sake of time and for the wrapping up of the show, which, by the way, bled a little bit longer than it should have, but it's Draftmas Eve, so you got to imagine that this was going to be a longer one anyway. Here is the New York Jets draft class. We started off with Ahmad Gardner. Let me save this. Hold on one second. Here we go. We got Ahmad Gardner. Can you see that or no?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, perfect. Ahmad Gardner, Jermaine Johnson, Logan Hall, George Pickens, And we've got Brees Hall, which again we kind of said was like a little bit of a monkey wrench thrown in there. Troy Anderson, Verone McKinley, Charlie Kohler, and Matt Waletzko. The only thing I say that I don't like is the fact that we waited so long on offensive line, but otherwise I actually really like the class, and I actually don't hate the fact that we waited and got Verone McKinley at safety. We've spent so much time talking about Seen, Brisker, Pitry.
Yeah.
I think Verone McKinley's a hell of a consolation prize in the fourth round. We got a Dolphins fan saying Debo. Okay, cool. Good to know. You guys are not getting Debo. You already got Tyreek Hill. What are you talking about, Debo? All right, so that's going to conclude episode 52. Let me go to my big screen here. And I want to thank everybody that tuned in tonight. And I want to also just thank everybody, all the new subscribers over the whole spring and, the end of the winter. We more than doubled in the last few months in subscribers. And I just want to thank everybody for being so consistent and loyal to the channel. We're going to be live the next 2 nights. We're going to be live tomorrow night starting at 7:30. We're going to be live as well on Friday doing the second and third round. Hey, you know what? Because you guys are here, I can give you a little sneak peek of what it's going to look like, because that's kind of exciting. This is round 1 scene.
Okay.
And Mike will be there, and I've already got the camera all set up for him. So here's round 1. Here is round 2 for James and I, and this will look real sweet once I get your face on here, James. Let's see if I can toy around with that, because that's really important right now. Here we go. Guest 1 is James. Why can't I get you on there? Okay, you're not on there, but you can see the screen, and this is what it's going to look like. And then round 3, it's a little bit more straightforward. On the clock, pick number, and the last player that was selected. That's how we'll do it. Anyways, guys, cannot wait for tomorrow night. The draft is finally here. Hope you guys are as excited as we are. Any final things you'd like to wrap the show up with, James? Go right ahead.
I hope everyone has a good night tomorrow. My one advice is don't fall asleep after pick 10. I don't think my prediction is going to be that the Jets will not be done after pick 10, so do not fall asleep. Be ready for some more action later in the first round. So enjoy the draft. I feel like we've worked really hard, all of us, like everybody together, every single day. It's just constant. We should do this. We should do that. This player, this mock, that mock. Tomorrow, it's all going to get finalized, at least for the first round, and we'll have some thoughts on what we were able to do. Based on what we're able to do in the second round and third round, based on what we do in the first round. So everyone, enjoy your night. Appreciate the support, and John let me do all this stuff here. So I have a blast, and I'm really excited that tomorrow's draft day.
Yeah, and just think about it this way. After this NFL draft gets out of the way, we can start working on the 2023 draft. That's going to be a pleasure.
I'm already getting there.
Yeah, man. Will Anderson, right? That's your guy?
Oh, man, I would give up whatever it took.
All right, that's going to conclude episode 52. Thank you guys so much for watching. Cannot wait to hang out with you for the draft. Go Jets, and we will see you guys tomorrow night. Peace, y'all. Have a good one.